Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you may be in the world, and welcome along to the F1 Creator Series. Over 6 seasons, some of your favourite content creators have battled it out for the amazing title of World Drivers' Champion among each other. And now, as we enter our 7th season, it's only right that we kick it off at one of the most prestigious tracks in the Formula 1 calendar. Of course, we're talking about Monaco. Alongside me in the booth to help call all of the action this afternoon is the one, the only, Hayden Gullis. Hayden, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, thank you very much. It's great to be alongside you. I think we're going to be cut out for some incredible action. Monaco to kickstart a brand new season, but not only that, on a brand new game as well. It's going to be incredible. There's going to be chaos. There's going to be carnage. I'm here for it.
I really am here for it too. Of course, there's a few drivers making some special occasions today as well. We got one driver hitting a considerable milestone in the Creator Series, shall we say, and of course one making their debut, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. Can we go and have a look at how our calendar lines up for Season 7? And there we go, I believe it's on the screen for you now. Round 1, Monaco, of course, and then 12 more rounds to contend with, including that break week in there. Hayden, your thoughts on the calendar here? Because for me, this is looking fantastic.
Yeah, there's some great races on there. We kickstart things off like, as you said, we're here, Monaco. Canada next week. As we know with Creator Series, we follow the in-real-life action. If there's a real race that weekend, we go and do that. So we've got a lot of real races amongst the calendar, but a lot of things that are thrown in there that are going to be very exciting. You know, Las Vegas for round 10 on a brand new game. It is slightly updated, of course, with a bit more closer to real-life visual effects on that track. We've got Spa, the updated version, that's going to be here. Silverstone as well, and a couple of mystery GPs they're going to throw in the mix. What am I looking forward to? Oh, I think it'd have to be Las Vegas. That always seems to throw up some chaos. And, you know, having that opportunity to be 4th going into the Las Vegas Strip and coming out of it in the lead could be, you know, an incredible sight to see.
You're exactly right. A lot of tracks on there that can cause some potential upsets, shall we say. Of course, new handling model coming into the game as well, so our drivers are really going to have to start and learn and adapt quickly if they want to come out on top this season. You mentioned the 2 mystery Grand Prix, round 3 and round 11 respectively, so those 2 are going to add a bit of spice. And of course, the fans at home get to have their pick for round number 6, so the fan vote Grand Prix, which in history here in the Creator Series has thrown up some really interesting results. The little preparation time our drivers get has really spiced up the results.
Yeah, no Monaco on that as well, because of course we're going to be doing that for the start of our season. So it's going to be interesting to see where you lot at home decide for us to go to. I'm excited. There's a lot of great tracks in contention for that one. And yeah, I think the most tricky thing about this is, you know, we're leading into a brand new game. There are plenty of drivers who have been doing lap after lap after lap. I think Deo, I spoke to him last night, he's done way over 200 laps in total across, you know, race prep and time trial prep. But in the fan vote GP, you don't get that. You will find out on the day where you race. Same with Mystery GP. You won't find out until we go live. So it definitely kind of showcases who are the most adaptable drivers rather than who can put in the most laps in the week.
Exactly that. It comes down to a matter of personality, a matter of grit and determination, not how much time you have free in the week to be able to practice the individual circuits, of course. But Monaco, I've known a lot of drivers this week have been putting in laps because the circuit itself requires precision driving, precision throttle, and precision braking. Every single corner you can potentially DNF at. And then, of course, throwing in the new game, that's going to throw some challenges. How are they going to be approaching this? Of course, you drive probably a little more than I do. How do they go into this? How do you prepare for such an event?
Well, it's just going to have to be practice. You know, we've had the game out since Tuesday for the Champions Edition, Friday, yesterday for the Standard Edition of the game, and a few of these creators would have had the game pre-release as well, being a part of the EA Creator Network. So they would have been able to do that prep and that practice leading into it, and that's really going to be what it's about. It's a brand new handling model, completely different to what we had in F1 23. The car turns a lot more. There's so much front-end grip, and it takes a lot to get used to and really perfect that. Yes, okay, we have seen a few things where, you know, drivers can throw these cars into corners and it just seems to stick. But if you do that, you're going to heat up those front tires and it's going to add to tire wear. So potentially that's not the right way to go. It could be about who is the smoothest driver. So it's going to be about these guys. What have they worked out in this week, couple of days to get ready for this race, and who's going to come out on top?
Yeah, you're exactly right. We can have a quick look over to our drivers standing, of course, at the start of a brand new season. All of our drivers, be on 0 points, but nonetheless, at the end of this broadcast, one driver will take the initial top spot before 12 more rounds of insanity ensure, and that will be the gauntlet laid down for the rest of our drivers to try and chase down over the many weeks that we have to come. I've got some interesting tidbits from earlier seasons here in the Creator Series. We've had 3 races previously at the Monaco Grand Prix. Jorrit van Geffen winning 2 of those back in round 2 and round 5 respectively. Razin Chai being the only other driver being able to take the top spot at the illustrious Monaco Grand Prix. Surely some of our drivers coming in today are seeing those stats, seeing those history and the numbers behind it, and wanting to join those drivers on that top spot.
It's one of the tracks that all the drivers want to win, whether they've got a chance of the championship or not. Monaco is going to be the one that they want to have, in their list of accolades. And they're going to come here today and really try and push for that. I think we are going to get a new race winner because, of course, Jorrit is not racing. And Razin has already told me that he's opting to start this race from the back. So unless he pulls off something that we very, very rarely see online and never see in real life, a last to first in Monaco, then we could get a brand new race winner. And I'm sure the likes of, Tiamat Marduk, our reigning champion, will want that next to his name. He loves it around here. Dale also seems to love Monaco. He usually puts it in the barriers in F1 races, but Monaco, he always says, not here. And let's see if he can do it.
Yeah, of course. Every driver wants to be on that top spot. Tiamat Marduk, as you said, will be wanting back-to-back championship victories. That's what every single driver wants to hope for, not only for the win at Monaco, of course, but over the entire season. If you're watching along at home, first of all, welcome in. Hope you've had a lovely Saturday afternoon. A couple of changes to how the series is running for Season 7, and we'll run you through them very, very quickly. We've gone back to a full qualifying session here, so it's a Q1, Q2, Q3, and then of course we removed the sprints. They are no longer, apart from a couple of weeks, which you can see in the calendar if you join the Discord, which is !Discord in chat. And one other change as well. So the weather previously was set to how it was in the real life venue at the time. We've added a little bit of spice in for this season. The weather initially now will start how it is in the host country, and then we move to dynamic. So we might see some carnage and chaos. We might even see rain here, Hayden.
We certainly could. All the drivers will be aware of that. So if you have seen it from the drivers' screens on their own streams, do let us know in the stream chat. Let us know, and we can adapt to that and find out what the weather is going to be potentially doing. But of course, we return to normality in qualifying, and that also means we return to a normal intermediates pole position award. And if you are new to the Creator Series, welcome, of course. Intermediate pole position means that they go out at the start of the first qualifying session on intermediates in order not to burn up a set of soft tires. But instead of just driving around normally like they do in F1 sim racing and test their equipment and stuff like that, no, instead they push flat out, trying to set the fastest lap time on these intermediates in dry conditions. And whoever does that will get an extra point to their name.
Exactly that. Those lap times, of course, having to be completed in the first 6 minutes of this Q1 session. So it doesn't only add a complication to that, it adds a time frame in which our drivers have to attempt it in. They have to get one solid run and hope that the car not only sticks, but they don't end up in a barrier too early. And at a track like Monaco, we've seen that too frequently, not only in real life, but in sim racing as well. We're on board, I think, with Razin Chai at the moment as he heads down towards the Nouvelle chicane. Turns 10 and 11 here in Monaco on the set of intermediates. Let's see what he can lay down as he goes for the first inters point of Season 7 here in the Creator Series.
Yep, let's ride on board with Razin Chai, a champion in the Creator Series, opting to start at the back, but nonetheless, we'll still try and get that intermediate fastest lap time in qualifying. Out to the anti-nose corner, DRS wide open, and we'll head down the start-finish straight, looking at that rear wing as this is open, closes, he heads his way through the first corner, really cutting that initial first part of the corner. Not too sure if he invalidated through that corner there, rise up the hill in towards this left, leading into the casino section. Nice and tight so far from Razin. Flick it back over to the right-hand side, get close to the barrier on the inside, then hard on the brakes as we go down in towards Mirrorboard. Then heading into the famous hairpin, the slowest corner on the Formula 1 calendar. Keep it nice and tight, a lot more grip through that corner, and you can just carry so much more speed compared to F1 23. Flying down into Portier and then on the throttle, out of the corner and into the tunnel. Razin Shai looking good so far for this intermediate lap as he's ending the second sector. Heading down in towards the Nouvelle chicane, really cutting that as much as possible. Gets away with it, I believe, on the inside there. Now into the back, throw the car in, hope that it sticks, don't touch the barrier on the outside, and it potentially looks like he might be slowing down. That rear light flashing, not too sure if he's harvesting energy, not too sure what that is at the moment, but Zafso goes fastest so far for 112 in the intermediate tyres through the final couple of corners now in towards Anti-Nose, and yes, it looks like he's just going slow to build up for another lap.
Yeah, I think there was definitely a little bit of an issue there for Razin Shai, but as you previously mentioned, Safso in that Alpine goes on current pole position, just a 1:12.5 for himself. The man that's never actually been on pole position in the Creator Series, so hopefully he'll be looking to convert that into a better lap time. But there we go, Alex Gillen already besting it by about 2/10. As we see, I think that was one of the Kick Saubers having a little bit of spin, either Scott or M-Sky-Z, P14 and P16 respectively. But Alex Gillen getting that Haas to the top step, currently getting that bonus point as Tom manages to slot his Alpine up to P2 as well, alongside Safso, Tim and Marduk and Curbs, all setting times thick and fast. And there we go, Punju, the man who's in with one of the reserve seats, doesn't decide to go for the intermediate pole, but instead puts on a set of softs, and up to the top he goes.
Yeah, Punju, very, very quick, but of course on those soft tyres. So not bothering going for the intermediate award, so a bit of a slow lap then if he's not too far ahead of Alex Gillen, who is on intermediate tyres at the moment. Remember, these guys have got to do that before the 12-minute mark. If it gets to 12 minutes, it's not a case of, okay, I've started my lap, I can finish it. No. If you set your lap at 11:59, it will not count. So these laps need to get in as quickly as they possibly can. Look out for Razin. He messed up on that first lap, but it's a 12:8. I believe he might have got that second lap in. Let's see whether anybody can improve on Alex Gillen's time and move themselves up to the top. F1 Damien also opting for the soft tyres in this qualifying session through the Nouvelle chicane, and it's looking nice so far on those softs. Nope, just weaving the tyres. Of course, he is actually on an out lap, as I mislooked there. I've got glasses on, but they're clearly not working at the moment. F1 Damien building up for a lap on the softs. The 12 minutes is up, or at least the 6 minutes is up. We're down to 12 minutes now, and everybody has set their intermediate times, which means Alex Gillen has got that intermediate fastest lap point.
Yeah, great point to start off the season with. He'll be very happy with that indeed. The man with the best win percentage in the entirety of Creator Series, winning 15 of the 30 Grand Prix that he has entered. It's an unprecedented percentage wins for Alex Gillen. At the moment, he gets that extra bonus point to take him to the top of the championship standings, of course, before any racing has even happened. Mr. Dale, on his return to Formula 1 here this afternoon, currently has his car sat in P3. So does Dale mean business? Because he was only 0.05 of a second off Alex Gillen's intermediate time. This is looking very, very close amongst the grid. Likes of Damien, Bamford, Noguera and Infratic all not setting lap times at the moment, but they will all be gunning to try and get back into a Q2 session here, the longer format, maybe throwing some of our drivers off.
Yeah, Dale looking good at the moment, as you alluded to there. We said at the start of the show, 200 laps plus of practice. He means business, put in a lot of effort to become champion in Formula 2, and is wanting to do well this season. Wants to prove everybody wrong. Of course, previously when he's been in F1, a lot of DNFs. The driver who DNF'd the most in Creator Series F1 history, and he'll be looking to write a new name for himself this time around. F1 Damien goes to the top of our timesheet on the soft tyres. It's a 1:11.3, and that's a strong lap to start off with as these drivers build those lap times up. That's what it's about around Monaco. It's not a case of, okay, we go for one flying lap, we come back into the box. No, you build up to it. You keep on pushing. You find that rhythm. You just allow yourself to get more confident around this circuit, and that is when the lap time is going to come to you.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. Monaco is such a track of confidence you have to build upon lap after lap after lap, and if you just go for the odd hot lap here in the qualifying session, you won't have that confidence leading into the Grand Prix. Bamford there sets a 1:09.555, nearly 2 seconds quicker than Damien sets in that Mercedes course. All the cars here are equal performance, so not any disadvantage or advantage by being in any specific car. But so far, Bamford setting down that gauntlet in the 109s already. And we're only in Q1, Hayden. Surely the times will keep getting quicker and quicker.
Yeah, I've just seen that Teammate Marduk is still on intermediate tyres at the moment, so I'm not too sure whether he went for a second lap there, but regardless of whether he went faster than Alex Gillen or not, it would not have counted because, of course, you have to be within that time zone. On the softs, though, is Infratic. Now, poor start to the season in Season 6, but then had a very strong Singapore, which kind of kick-started his jump out of the playoff zone and kept him safe in Formula 1. Won the Constructors' Championship with Tiamat Marduk as he slides through the first corner. That's not how to go fast around here, but let's see if he can still find the time around Monaco, putting on a show for the fans and maybe just celebrating a little bit that Constructors' Championship win.
Yeah, a little bit of a little bit of a kiss with the wall there. Apologies, words failing me as we run down towards the hairpin, down towards Mirabeau and Portier, and Infratic now really starting to put on a show for everybody at home. That drift through turn 1 won't be the quickest way to get around that corner, but like you said, he's a man of the people, an entertainer at heart, and that is exactly what he loves to do as he runs down now towards the Noval chicane. He's continuing on this lap. I think he's kept it valid through there, cutting every single available inch of the corner. Now through to back he goes. Turn number 12, continuing to rub as close to the walls as he possibly can through the swimming pool chicane. Final few corners towards the Raskas, round the right-handers, and it's a little bit of an overcorrection there for the Ferrari. It won't be the quickest lap time for Infratic, but he runs down towards the line. DRS now activated. What's his initial lap on the board going to be? And it is indeed going faster. So 109.1 for the Ferrari man who drifted multiple corners. How has he gone quick there?
A very strong lap, despite the many mistakes over that lap. So let's wait and see what Infratic can do over the rest of this session and, of course, the rest of qualifying. Because if that's what he can do with mistakes, then potentially could be in that top 10 fight. Curbs goes to third fastest. But just talking about that lap with from Infratic, he just clipped the inside of the first part of the Raskas. Now, you really want to open up that corner and focus on the exit. And sometimes you can clip the inside of the exit. I rarely see someone tap the first part of that corner. And he was wall riding as much as possible, cutting as many corners as he could have got away with. And that was perfect through there. So if he just tidies up those little mistakes, could be very strong. Mr. Dale, though, right up at the top there in the Red Bull. Safso, our Season 1 champion, in second. And Dale does mean business into the 108s.
He does indeed. Gwat's up there as well, chucking in a 109.2 for himself. Gets that McLaren up to P4 as things stand. Tom, though, with a 108 flat pretty much for the Alpine team. Nearly over 6/10 clear of Mr. Dale. Bear in mind, of course, this is only Q1. There's 2 more qualifying sessions to go. So that will be where everybody's eyes are on. They want to get out of the bottom 5. They get in that top 15 to continue and advance to the next couple of sessions. But of course, Q3 is where it's all going to matter. Nogueira then goes into the 107s for the first time this afternoon with a 107.9 for the Mercedes AMG Petronas F1 team. Everybody else, I think, the track is starting to upgrade ever so slightly. Eric Guri as well, going faster, 107.8 for himself.
Yeah, and the drivers, as I said earlier, just starting to get more and more confident. With every lap that they do, they find, oh, I can cut the corner a little bit more here, or I can push the car a little bit more through this corner, or I can get on the power a little bit earlier, and that's what they are doing. We've seen it so far, you know, in previous seasons. Nogueira very, very strong in qualifying. The races, he gets caught up in maybe a few too many incidents, or the odd mistake here or there. So he'll be looking to clean that up here in Season 7 to have a strong season, maybe put himself up in towards the fighting order, because he has the pace across one lap to be up there. Look at him now in the 107.9s. El Rey Guri as well, another driver who was very quick last season but caught up in too many incidents. And another driver who was absolutely rapid was M Sky Z. Now he's coming through the Portier corner now in towards the tunnel. Just missed out on the championship last season. Just missed out on the championship the previous season to Razin Shai. Could this be his season in Season 7? Has put in a lot of practice as well to try and really cement himself up at the front. Let's see how he does in qualifying. First of all, it's all about getting outside of Q1 and into Q2. And make sure you're not in that bottom 5. Razin will be one of those as M Sky Z comes into the final couple of corners now, into the Raskas, and then into the Anthony Nodes final corner. Little bit of a tail slap out of that corner. DRS open, down to the line. Is it going to be fast enough? And it's not as fast as I was expecting there from M Sky Z. A 108.8. It is 7th position for now. It is, you know, safe, but as those times start to get faster, could be in danger.
Yeah, both kick Saubers there looking potentially on that danger zone. Maybe in the mid 108s is where we're potentially expecting to see the cutoff here, especially for Q2, maybe for Q1 as well. But MSkyZ, who's tied on the most pole positions here in the Create Series with the one and only Razin Chai. Razin will not be progressing any further. He's wanting to start, I think, from far enough at the back as he possibly can this afternoon. Meraki, though, he wants to get out the bottom 5 now, on a bit of a warm-up by the looks of it. Although he's gone for a double warm-up lap through the swimming pool chicane now towards the Raskas, and of course, Antti knows he doesn't have much time on the board to pull out a lap. What can the Williams man do? Rounding the final corner now, he'll have that DRS open for the one and only time on this lap as drivers start to retire. Further up the grid, Tom, Mr. Dale, Sasso, all deciding their laps are enough. We watch on board with Meraki and the Williams now on the run-up towards Bassinet through Beau Rivage. Round the left-hand to get the car rotated. This is so important for his lap time. A little bit of a miniature lock-up on the front left. Watching the Williams twist and turn through Monaco, avoiding the bump. On the left-hand side there, on the run down towards Mirabeau, through the hairpin as well, down towards the left-hander. As Hayden said, the tightest corner on the Formula 1 calendar. A little bit of a kick out. GB, though, has been disqualified from the session for being parked in a dangerous location. What has happened for the Aston Martin man?
No idea, but he's at the back of the grid. Well, that's going to be annoying for Razin Chai because he wanted to start right in 20th position, but instead, that's going to go to GB68. Meraki on a lap now. He went for a second warm-up lap as he flies through to back in towards Swimming Pool 1 and then Swimming Pool 2 now. What can he do in this session? There's still 3 minutes on the clock, so if he gets it wrong, he can bail it out of it, get straight back into the pit lane and go for one more flying lap. He's not going to do that, though. Out of the Antino's corner, DRS open. What can he do? Can he get himself out of that bottom 5? He can. It's into P7 at the moment. So getting in the mix of those drivers who've retired, who are going to sigh a little bit of relief there. Tom, Alex Gillen, Mr. Dale, Zafso, they've all retired from it. They think that they're safe. And it's one of those things, when you're a driver in these sessions, you look at the names that are at the bottom of the list and you think, okay, do those drivers have the potential to get above me? You're looking at someone like Matty D, who finds himself near the bottom. Before it was like Chesnoid and Curbs. You always used to look at those sort of names and think, can they get out? And it's always so shocking when they do, as Infratic has retired from the session with 2 minutes to go, and he's not that safe. He's in P15. That's got to be a mistake out on track, surely.
I think you're absolutely right. Surely you wouldn't retire in P15. I appreciate Tim McMartick's just jumped him up to P11. But if you're sat there P14, P15, you're doing absolutely everything you can to try and get out of this session. Of course, Curbs, Matty D and Damien all still in. 2 of them on hot laps already. Curbs and Damien in the Williams and Mercedes respectively on board, though, with F1 Scott as he heads through the airpin. Little bit of an overcorrection there for the Kick Sauber driver. Of course, making his Formula 1 Creator Series debut this afternoon. So for Scott, a very, very proud moment indeed to be able to drive amongst everybody else. And not only that, set very competitive lap time.
Yeah, he's looking very strong in P10. Update on Infratic. Unfortunately, we have no clipbook for this week. We'll be looking forward to having clipbook back when we go to Canada next week. But Infratic, as he rose up the hill in towards the Casino section, went through the right at Casino, and he just lost the rear end over the bump, lost the car into the barrier, loses his front right tyre, and that is him out of qualifying.
That's absolutely gutting for the Ferrari driver. Of course, this could be both Ferraris knocked out in this Q1 session. A very rare occurrence indeed in modern times. We can see Damien getting ever so slightly caught up with a Kick Sauber there as he headed through Larascas, through Anthony No. Can he promote himself from P18 of where he currently finds himself? Across the line he comes. I don't think it's going to be an improvement, or he's going to have to go again. He just has enough time. But the question I'm asking here is, does he have enough fuel? Curbs is in the pits. He's not going to get to go again. So Matty D could be knocking out Infratic here.
Yeah, Matty D could be looking good. Of course, he had a strong season last season. Had a bit of a fight with Fabio to try and get out of the playoffs. In the end, both of them succeeded, and neither of them were in that drop zone to get themselves relegated into Formula 2. Could that battle continue across this season? A lot of banter between these two, and they love to give it to each other outside of the races, but also on track. We saw it in Miami, those two coming together. There was a bit of a discussion went on between those two after collision at the chicane in Miami. But can Matty D get himself out of this drop zone? We've got a few drivers that have finished. They finished their laps. Curbs is out of the session. Matty D, what can he do? Can he rise up the ranks and get himself in a Q2?
Yeah, he did well in Formula 2 just a couple of seasons ago. He was in the mid-pack for Formula 1 last season. He rounds the final corner now. Can he knock out Infratic from this Q1 session? He comes across the line, and no, it's not good enough by nearly half a second. Matty D will be out in Q1, as is F1 Damien. So that is your confirmed your confirmed drop points here. It's Matty D, Curbs, F1 Damien, Razin Chai, and GB68, who will be starting at the back of the pack for this Monaco Grand Prix.
Yeah, those guys will be disappointed not to progress any further in this session. Razin Chai and GB68, though, they'll not be too worried about it. Both of them wanted to start near the back anyway. Razin said beforehand he wanted to start last. GB68, I believe, is trying to use every tyre in Monaco in this race, whether there's wet weather or not, I believe. He disqualified on purpose, went into the second part of the swimming pool and just parked it on the slight runoff area on the inside and just waited there and just got himself disqualified. So that is what happened, and that is why GB68's qualifying has come to an end. But Manny will be disappointed with that one for sure. F1 Damien has not done too much running in the F1 series, is now more of a staple driver in the F2 series, and will be getting a full-time seat for the rest of this season. So let's see what he can do in Formula 2. But he won't be too worried about that. Be happy to be amongst the grid and then see what he can do later on in the race. Curb's another driver that has always been on that cusp of playoffs and be wanting to prove with a brand new game that he can get himself out of those playoff zones and see what he can do right at the front of the order. But for those guys that got through, Infratic will be through into Q2, but unfortunately, as it was a DNF, won't be able to drive anymore. So 15th position is also locked out. That's where Infratic's going to be starting. But some of the surprises and some of the guys I'm looking forward to seeing what they can do in Q2. You've got Bamford there as well. Guatz, who's not done too many F1 races before. And of course, F1 Scott, who showed so much pace in the playoffs. Can he convert that into a potential Q3?
Yeah, I'm just looking on the screen. I'm not sure if we can see it at home, but it's showing Infratic is out because of GB's disqualification. It hasn't counted him as a finisher, so it'll be interesting to see what happens when we head into this Q2. I'm sure Infratic should be through.
It's because he broke the tyre. He broke the tyre.
Oh, of course.
So he won't be allowed to take part anymore in the session.
That's a very good point. Thank you for the correction. He's
done.
Out of here. Well, Q2 is about to come your way. Who's your prediction here for some survivors or maybe some people that might drop out here? I think there's quite a few potentially on that cusp. Like we said, Bamford's really avoiding dropping down in that previous session. Everybody else just making it through.
Yeah, I think we're going to be looking at our usual suspects to get themselves into Q3. Potential for shocks, though, here at Monaco. We've already seen Infratic make a mistake whilst having good pace around here. It's so easy to do, especially with the more on the nose that these cars are for F1 24. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see what Bamford, Guatz, F1 Scott, on one of their first few races in the F1 series of Creator Series, what they can do and whether they can move themselves in towards that top 10 fight in Q3. But, expect the usual faces. Alex Gillen, Tim Marduk, Tom. But also, Mr. Dale has been doing a good job. So let's see what he can do in Q3. I reckon he can get through.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely correct. Mr. Dale has probably done enough laps to be able to complete about 3 or 4 Monaco Grand Prix at the moment. But nonetheless, he will be looking to get into that illustrious Q3, but of course get pole position as well, because generally, the person who gets pole position here in Monaco tends to get the victory as well. Our drivers are out for this Q2 session, and I'm sure we'll be able to hop over to them in just a brief moment or two. But I'm sure it's going to be a very interesting one indeed. Noguera, I believe, did try and set an intermediates lap after those 6 minutes has passed and did get ever so slightly caught out.
Yeah, it's not going to count, unfortunately, though, if you set that intermediate time after those 6 minutes. And, it's just, I guess you're saving a set of softs. If you think that you've got that confidence to get yourself in towards Q3, you're going to want those set of soft tyres to be able to do as many laps as possible in Q2 and Q3. So if you can run on a set of intermediate tyres and just go for another lap, even if it's just for fun, then it's going to save that set of tyres, but also still kind of get your eye into how the track's developing and, where can I push here or there. But of course, you're going to be able to push a lot harder when you're on those soft tyres as you have so much more grip.
Yeah, it's going to be a game of cat and mouse. How much can you throw that car in and how much is it going to respond to every single action that you give it? Of course, drivers just lining themselves up here, on their outlaps. I believe Alex Gillen and Safso once again being some of the first drivers out to complete their initial runs here of this Monaco street circuit, a beautiful track in its most recent layout from 2015 onwards. And there, Bamford drifting through the first corner, as we saw Infratic do in Q1. Both of them maybe not finding as much grip in those rear tyres as we once thought. Maybe not being able to get them up to temperature as much as they would have liked.
Also just tapped the wall as he rose up the hill there. You saw a bit of confetti spraying off of the barriers. He just made a slight tap on the wall on the left-hand side, so I'm not too sure if that would have lost him time, but I love watching some of the stuff that these guys are doing through the corners, just drifting the car through turn one, but able to catch it and keep it on the track and still able to push hard over the rest of the lap. Bamford, though, in towards the Novell chicane now. We want to get hard on the brakes after the 100-meter board, and then we're going to be watching on board instead with Mr. Dale, our Formula 2 champion. Never mind, because we're going to cut back straight to Bamford and see what he can do. Zafso, though, is going fastest, a 108.1. Not the fastest time we've seen so far in qualifying. We saw quicker times in Q1 as Bamford again clobbers against the wall. Alex Gillen goes quickest, but then he's topped by Tom with a 108.0 once again. Bamford round the final corner. What can they do? And it's a 109.8, the slowest time we've seen so far as Mr. Dale comes back into the pit box.
Yeah, early pit there from Mr. Dale. I wonder if he was just having a little recce of the track, seeing how the grip levels were on a used set of tyres. And he's coming in, getting prepped and ready to go again. But like you said, both Alpines setting early lap times here, both of them in the 108s. A considerable jump at the moment between P3 and P4, nearly a second between Safso and Gwatz, as everybody else starts to lay down their initial lap times here this afternoon. F1 Scott, Sky, Punju and Bamford, as you've said, have all set their early lap times. Team at Marduk and Meraki are currently yet to set, and there's a few drivers just in the pits. Meraki then goes P9 with a 112.3, so just add that to the list of slowest times we've seen this afternoon. But we're watching as Tim McMardock makes his way through the tunnel down towards the Novell chicane. What can they lay down for their first hot lap attempt here in qualifying 2? The run continues towards the left-hander of Tabac, which slightly moved in 2015 and remade the circuit as we know and love, into swimming pool 1 and then swimming pool 2. The McLaren flying through the curbs here, rounding now Raskas and Anthony No with 10.5 minutes left on our countdown. CRS wide open on the McLaren on the run down towards the checkered flag, not the checkered flag, the checkered line rather, and he's up to P4. A very considerable lap time for Tim McMardock there.
Yeah, good lap with a 108.7. Maraki's going to be getting loads of time by cutting that corner, but I'm not too sure it's going to be valid. He is on intermediate tyres. I'm sure he's coming back into the box. So again, just trying to save those soft tyres for some runs later on in the session, but also save the softs for the race. Because, of course, it's not like we have in Formula 2 where you can keep your tyres, or when we have the sprint races, you can burn as many tyres as you want in the sprint races. And then you get a brand new set for the qualifying and the race, and we only had short qualifying, so you only used a couple of sets of tyres, so you're kind of fine for the race later on. No, instead, we're back to the old format, and all the tyres that you use are going to be carried over to the race. So if you use up all your tyres in qualifying trying to push for pole position, you will not have a brand new set of tyres if, say, a safety car comes out right at the end of the race. Of course, boxing, to get that benefit, it is difficult to overtake here in Monaco. So whilst Jake is saving those sets of softs, potentially for the race, it might not work out for him if he cannot overtake in the race, which of course it is difficult to do here around Monaco. Look at the lap times though. Tom is currently our fastest driver out on track. Alex Gillen's in second with Zafso in third. Good lap time there from Tim at Marduk. But yeah, I'm not too sure whether he's going to be fully safe with that one. It's a 108.7. We've seen faster lap times. He could be just about on the cusp. But somebody who is not really been, you know, as fast as maybe I expected. Sky Z, again, 7th position, behind his teammate of F1 Scott, who is, you know, debuting here today, and is only in the 109.2 at the moment.
Yeah, it's not a great qualifying so far for Sky Z. He was on the podium last time out in Season 5 here in Monaco. As we previously mentioned, just pipped out by Jorik van Geffen, Razin Chai as well. On that podium here just a couple of seasons ago. And now I reckon with the new game, of course, new handling model coming along with it, the man himself cannot quite get to grips around Monaco, maybe not being able to put in the practice that some of our other drivers have been putting around here in time trial and, of course, Grand Prix as well. Tom, though, has definitely done his practice, done his homework, and he currently leads this session on board with Ere Guri as he runs around the final couple of corners to set his initial lap time in Q2 down towards the line. He runs. What can he sit down for his initial lap time? Is only good enough for P10. A 1:10.6. Team of Marduk through the swimming pool. Again, another kiss with the barrier for the McLaren. Not quite finding the track limit to the extent of which you would want. DRS gets open down towards the line. He runs, looking to improve on a 1:08.7 up towards the podiums, but I don't think it's going to happen. A 10th improvement there for the man from down under. Nogueira running down towards the Nouvelle chicane now. He hasn't set a lap time. Aiden, where are we expecting Nogueira to end up?
Potentially right at the front, because of course earlier in Q1 he put himself into the 107s, again riding against the barrier, added to back, now in towards swim pool 2. Watch out for the barrier traffic as Skyzy, I think that was, or maybe it was F1 Scott, just gets right in the way, and that massively compromised Nogueira's lap, and look at him straight into the box. I'm not too sure which one of the kick Saubers that was. Both of them are on outlaps, but one of them got right up in the way. Be very frustrated. It was F1 Scott, as they have just started their lap now. As we're watching Zafso, our Season 1 champion, 3rd position at the moment, will cross the line. Doesn't go too much faster though. Matches, in fact, Alex Gillen's time, but El Rey Guri didn't have a strong lap first time around, but puts himself back into the 107s and back to the front in Q2.
Yeah, feeling like he deserves to take that top spot back. 6.5 minutes, of course, left in this Q2 session, so plenty of time for our drivers to get in and out, get a lap time on board with Perja as he runs down towards Portier, down through the tunnel now in the beautiful Visa Cash App Racing Bull, down towards the Nouvelle chicane. What can he lay down for his first lap time in Q2? I think Meraki's just snuck up to P3 as well, a 1:08.057, just 0.003 of a second separating himself and Tom at the top of our timing screens at the moment. But Perja is the one on a lap, one on a charge, trying to dismantle this tower of drivers. Where can he find himself in just a couple of corners time? This will be a good lap so far. He's looking quick as he normally is, but we've flicked back to El Rey Guri ever so briefly. But we're still on board with Perja as he runs towards the line. Where can he go from P14? Across the line he comes, and it's P8 with a 1:08.9. I think this could be around our drop zone in about 5.5 minutes time.
Yeah, certainly so. I think we could be looking for around the where Skyzy is potentially with the 108s. 108.4, 108.3 could be around the cutoff area for these drivers. Perja has been fast in previous seasons, but in the races, again, another driver got caught up maybe in far too many instances, was in fact in the playoffs last time out at the end of season 6, did able to retain his Formula 1 seat as Bamford comes around the final corner, is on a lap at the moment, got a McLaren chasing him down at the moment as well. Bamford doesn't improve. I think he just was going for a second warm-up lap, and again, drifting it through turn 1. Has a McLaren, though, right on their tail. Are they going to potentially get in the way of each other here? Is that Guatz or is it Team at Marduk? Team at Marduk is in the box, so it is Guatz. 2 drivers on the cusp of getting knocked out. Well, 1 on the cusp, 1 currently in the drop zone. So both drivers will be looking to improve, get themselves into the 108s, but still have a lot of time to find to guarantee safety in this qualifying session. Mr. Dale, another driver, put in a lot of laps of practice, is going to go for one last gasp to get himself out of the drop zone and into Q3. Nogueira as well, very strong. We know he can get into the 107s, got caught up with that traffic, needs to time his lap to perfection to make sure he doesn't get caught out once again as well. As it looks like Guatz there cuts across the Nouvelle chicane. He won't be looking to go for a fastest lap this time around. We'll build up for another lap or come back into the box. Let's see what Bamford can do, and he loses it over swimming pool 2. The back end steps out. He goes into the barrier, breaks his front wing. He's going to need to get back into the pit lane, repair that as quickly as possible, and go for one last lap.
Yeah, it all went wrong that time around. Of course, Guatz getting held up by Bamford as they were running through the track pretty much nose to tail, but on board here with Mr. Dale as he comes through the final few corners on what will be one of his only lap attempts here in qualifying 2. Rounds the final corner, rounds Anthony Noel, DRS open on that Red Bull down towards the line. Where can he go? It's P6 with a 108.1. Surely that has got to be safety. Maybe you've got to be looking even within the 108 zeros if you're talking about more numbers, but I think Mr. Dale will be safe here. That leaves only Nogueira, the only driver not to set a lap time at the moment. Sky is about to finish off their hot lap. No, they're not into the pits, they dive. Punju, one of our reserves for this afternoon, stepping into the seat of the Red Bull alongside Mr. Dale. He's now trying to get himself into this Q3 session.
Can we just talk about how close the gaps are up at the front? Ignore Nogueira, You know, he's in the 107s. I mean, he's still close to Tom. But if you look at Tom and Meraki, they're separated by 3 thousandths of a second. Then you've got Alex Gillen and Zafso, who have set the exact same lap time in this session. And those 4 drivers separated by about 200ths of a second. So close between those guys at the moment. All of them, I believe, are going to be safe in this session. Zafso and Meraki know that they are safe because they have DNF from the session. So we'll take no further action in Q2, but we'll move on into Q3. Let's see what Punju can do. A 109.5 at the moment. There's still 2 minutes on the clock, so still time to go for another lap, but we'll be looking for an improvement, get in the 108 and put himself safe for that top 10 shootout. Let's see what he can do as he comes across the line. Will it be fast enough? It is an improvement. It is a 108.4, but it is still on the cusp.
Yeah, he splits both the kicks out as M Scott is just above him, F1 Scott just below him, but F1 Scott has just started another lap, so we'll be looking to improve next time out. Nogueira drifting that Mercedes through every single corner and manageable down towards the line he runs. P14 at the moment for him, P14 no longer, a 107.8 for himself. Not far clear from El Guri, who's in P2, but surely confirmation there that Nogueira and El Guri both proceeding into Q3 little later on. Tom through Safso have all decided that their lap is good enough for this Q2 session. That leaves just a handful of drivers to battle it out for the remaining positions here. You can have a look. Punju's still on a lap, F1 Scott's on a lap, Perier's on a lap as well. Gwatz, Bamford and M Sky Z all about to set up for one within the next minute and a half. This is going to be a very interesting end to Q2 here, Hayden.
Yeah, that was a great lap there from Nogueira. Even though it was messy, it was so strong. A 107.8, showing that we've got great pace and potential for pole position. Let's see what F1 Scott can do. Out of the final corner, DRS open, down to the line. Will it be an improvement in qualifying? It is. It is into the 108.0s. Again, so close between those drivers. But is it going to be safety? Because we're seeing so many drivers so close together. There's potential, of course, for Mr. Dale, Skyzy, Tiamat Marduk. We know Perier's fast as well. They can all top him. Perier will come around the final corner here with 40 seconds still on the clock. It is going to be an improvement. It's a great lap. It's just shy of a 108 flat, and it is into 3rd place.
Fantastic lap from Perger, getting up to P3 for himself, solidifying that Q3 entry later on. We're watching aboard with Gwatz now as he runs down towards Portier, down towards the tunnel. Currently finds himself just alongside his teammate in P13, looking to try and gain solidarity up towards Q3 with just moments left on this clock. No more laps will be able to be attempted in just a few seconds time. Down now towards to back corner he runs in the beautiful papaya and black McLaren, timing up there on the top right hand side of your screen. He's a 10th.5 up on his lap time at the moment. This is looking like an improvement for Gwatz, but I don't think it's going to be enough for safety at the moment unless he made a major issue in sector 3. It's not going to be an improvement, but Gwatz this time around, into the pits he comes and leaves everybody else to battle it out. Watching here as Bamford now runs through the Noval chicane in the V-Cup car, through the left-hander to back. He's looking to solidify himself in Q3, replicate what Gwatz couldn't just a few moments ago. Through the swimming pool 1 and 2 he goes. What's the delta split we're looking at? We can't quite see it on our screens. F1 Scott's retired. He's in P8 at the moment. He's deciding he's not going faster. DRS open here for Bamford. Down towards the line he runs. Can he improve from P14? He can, but it's only up to P13, so we will be saying goodbye to him. What can the man from down under do, though? Tiamat Marduk, our last season's champion, comes down towards the line. Can he get safety? Yes, he can. Look at that. At the death, Tiamat Marduk gets himself into Q3.
Knocks out his rival for the championship last season. Skyzy was right on the bubble in P10, came into the box, didn't go for another lap at the end there, and Tiamat Marduk just about pips him by 1/10 of a second. You know, they were championship rivals last season, took it right down to the final corner in France for the Season 6 championship. And once again, right at the death in Q2, Tiamat Marduk just beats M Skyzy. Skyzy's going to be annoyed. He's going to be like, this guy, everywhere I go, he doesn't leave me alone. He doesn't stop beating me. And M Skyzy's going to need to try and come back in the race. Difficult to do, of course, in Monaco. Hard to overtake around here. It's going to be mainly about strategy and also a lot of luck. It's a place to gamble. And let's see if they can gamble with the right strategy later on when we go racing.
Exactly that. The championship and the rivalry went cold over the break, but I have a feeling the gas is right back on between the Frenchman and the Aussie. P10 and P11 just separating those two at the moment. Of course, Tim Murdoch will be looking a little bit higher up the grid when we go racing in Q3 in just a brief moment of time. M Sky Z, Punju, Bamford and Watts are your knockout drivers for this Q2 session. And of course, in Fratic, who found the barrier earlier in Q1. So 10 drivers now heading through to the final knockout session. Just a brief event to determine who will start at the front of our grid here this afternoon. And I'll tell you what, drivers are going to give it everything around this track. I wouldn't be surprised if we see one or two end up in a barrier very, very soon.
Yeah, we've seen it from a couple of drivers so far. Of course, in Fratic in Q1. We saw it from Bamford there in Q2, just making a mistake into the second part of the swim pool. We've seen a couple of drivers just clip the rear end on a few barriers and losing a bit of time. So there's a lot of potential to make a mistake, but there's also a lot of potential to find heaps of lap time by just pushing the limits, pushing the boundaries of this circuit. Some drivers in contention, you've got to be looking at Nogueira and Elray Guri. They have been formidable so far in both the qualifying sessions. Really, the only drivers to get themselves into the 107s. But also, don't count out the likes of Alex Gillen, Tom, Zafso. They were strong with their earlier laps, and it was good enough to get themselves through to Q3 without doing that final run at the end there. So I think we could be in for a very closely contended Q3 and shootout for pole position.
Yeah, of course, Alex Gillen with only one intermediate pole to his name, and I think only 0 pole positions to his name as well. Will he be looking... Sorry, 5 pole positions to his name. I was looking at the wrong number on the chart there. Will he be looking to add pole position number 6 to his record this afternoon? Of course, 15 wins under his belt. And I think if he gets pole position, surely he is prime suspect to get the race win as well. But here we go. 10.5 minutes on the clock, please, Mr. Watcher. And here we go, 10 drivers ready to battle it out in the Principality, the shortest circuit on the Formula 1 calendar. And this is going to be fantastic. A real split decision from some of our drivers, whether to go out early or wait till the traffic clears. They don't want anyone impeding them through the tight streets, the narrow street circuit. You don't have room for error here, Hayden.
You really don't. You make a mistake, you will be punished, and you will be out of the qualifying session, or at least having to come back into the pits a little bit wounded, and also slightly embarrassed as well, as I think we've all found in the Creator Series, myself included. We've all made an error around here, and we've all, had to... I did plenty yesterday in the F2 race, which was complete chaos, absolute carnage, but also a lot of fun. Elray Guri is we're watching on board at the moment. Second place so far, although I believe, did he go fastest? No, yeah, he was second in Q2. Nogueira went faster than the Aston Martin driver. Had a quick stint at Red Bull, partnered up with myself last season for season 6, but back in the green of Aston Martin once again. Of course, a Spaniard, an Aston Martin and Fernando Alonso fan, so he'll be happy to be in those green colours once again and in Fernando Alonso's car. Partnered up with GB68, who of course will be starting at the back of the grid, not wanting to take part in qualifying and wanting to start right at the back and seeing what he can do in this race with a challenge that he has set himself. But Elray Guri on this flying lap, very close to the barrier, out of the swimming pool there, close on the inside of Raskas as well, into the anti-nose corner. DRS will be open, will come down to the line. Let's see what our benchmark time can be from Elray Guri. It's a 1:10, so I suspect there's been a mistake on that lap, or they have set that on very used set of soft tyres.
Yeah, surely used tyres there for the Aston Martin of Elray Guri. Alex Gillen, though, setting the first competitive lap time of the qualifying session, 1:07.5 for himself on board with Tim Murdoch as he runs through the first of the swimming pools, against the second one as he jumps over the sausage curb, getting that car with all of its speed available through the Raskas he goes, and towards Anthony Knoll with 8.5 minutes left in the session. DRS open as he runs down towards the line. Elray Guri, Tom sets a 1:13.2 for himself. Tim Murdoch just about 7/10 of what Alex Gillen previously set, a 1:08.2 for the McLaren Papyron Black. Not currently leading the way, his teammate knocked out ever so slightly earlier. F1 Scott on his debut. What can he lay down in this Q3 session, let alone getting through to Q3 on your debut in Formula 1? What a fantastic achievement that is so far.
What a gauntlet, though, that has been laid down from Alex Gillen. A 1:07.5. That is what saving a set of soft tyres will do for you, but never mind, it's been broken. El Rey Guri shoots to the top, and it's a 107.3. Will we see drivers potentially in the 106s in this qualifying session? That is an amazing lap from the Aston Martin driver. Look out for Nogueira, and let's see what he can do. F1 Scott rounds the final corner, will come to the line. What can he do in qualifying? Can he put himself up there? He's a good lap so far, 108.7, but I'm sure that would definitely be beaten as the lap times progress. Nogueira, that's got to be on a U-set tyres as well, into the 108. Probably one of the first time we've seen Nogueira in the 108s. He's usually in the 107s, very, very strong so far in qualifying. So let's see what he can do on a brand new set of soft tyres. Zafso now through the final corner. He was another driver who saved a set of softs, but unfortunately, this probably is not them, because he's on the 109 ones or has made a mistake out there.
Yeah, I think that's got to be used tyres for a few of our drivers. Of course, Q3, it feels like a very short session, but of course, they have enough time to do that preparatory run, use a used set of tyres, and then of course, go out with fresh, soft rubber, get as much time out of the cars as they possibly can grasp. A couple of other lap times coming in there. Tom, I think, up into P2 with a 107.4, so just about a tenth of what El Rey Guri currently set, splits himself and Alex Gillen, Meraki, Persia, Dale and Safso. Sorry, Dale, Persia and Meraki all currently yet to set a lap time. Dale, interestingly enough, still in the pit lane, so maybe waiting for just a singular run for himself and waiting for that clear track. Watching on board with Meraki, he's definitely backed off his lap time, the rear light flashing, not as fast as he could possibly go through swimming pool chicanes 1 and 2. I wonder what Persia's doing as he's in P9 at the moment on his hot lap. We'll wait and see what the times come on the board, thick and fast.
Yeah, I imagine Meraki is on a used set of tyres. We've already seen it quite a few times in qualifying. He's gone out on intermediates for second runs and you know, has used sets of tyres. He's saving tyres for the race later on, and I suspect a lot of those other drivers are doing that. TM Marduk, Nogueira, F1 Scott, Zafso, of course. You know, we know that Zafso should have a brand new set because he retired early in Q2. So he's saving those for the race. Drivers who aren't, El Rey Guri, Tom, and Alex Gillen, they want to put themselves at the top and just try and defend, even if they have to be on older tyres. Perja with a great lap there, 108.0. Not as fast as we've seen Perja go. He was just shy of being a 108 flat. Was just off it by 1,000th of a second. We know he can go quicker. And so let's see what he can do on a brand new set. But of course, Q3, all the drivers do get a brand new set of soft tyres given to them just for that Q3 session. And they will be using them in the final 3 laps of this session. Or final lap of this session, 3 minutes.
Yeah, Persia and Team and Marduk, they're separated by just a hundredth of a second between the two of them. 0.046 and 0.056 respectively for the two drivers. Watching on board with Meraki. Tyre smoke flying absolutely everywhere. He's pushing that car to its limits, rounding the final couple of corners. What can he lay down for his first hot lap attempt in this Q3 session? It's a 108.3 for himself. Team and Marduk following slowly through the swimming pool. Maybe a double build-up lap for the McLaren here as well, just making sure those tyres have temps in them. F1 Scott as well, I think, just taking it nice and casually through the streets of Monaco, making sure that he doesn't run into any barriers rather prematurely.
Just taking in the views. It's a beautiful place here in Monte Carlo, and F1 Scott is just taking in all the views at the moment, just looking at the sights to see, of course, the great marina. We've got so many boats in the harbour come race day. F1 Scott currently 7th in this qualifying session, beating the likes of Nogueira and Zafso, but we know of the pace of those drivers. I think for F1 Scott, the fact that he's got to Q3 on debut, he can be very happy for that. Even if he finishes this session in P10, I think he can be very happy to get into that top 10 and then see what he can do over the rest of the race. This is an endurance race in Monaco. It's not flat out to the line. It's management. It's trying to make sure you keep it out of the barriers, because of course one mistake, your race is done. So we need to make sure these drivers, of course, get themselves to the end. F1 Scott's going to be looking at that. Keep it clean. Don't get caught up in any incidents, and then see what happens at the end of the race. See where I end up. What cards have I got on the table? As Tom is going for his outlap. We've also got Nogueira going for his outlap a little bit earlier than a few of the other drivers.
Yeah, interestingly enough, Mr. Dale hasn't headed out for the hot lap attempt quite yet. as we count down the seconds on the clock. We're approaching that 3-minute mark. We're expecting drivers to come and head out, maybe just waiting for the track evolution to reach its peak and the traffic to reach its natural minimum at a point on this track at the moment. But he's leaving it rather late as drivers continue to come out for their outlap time after time. Tom's out, Alex is out, Tim and Mardik's out, as is Noiguera and Safso. But here we go. There's movement in the Red Bull garage, and out comes the Red Bull car of Mr. Dale J.E., our Formula 2 champion in Season 6, now sets his sights on pole position in Monaco, on board though with Tom as he sets his final lap time down towards Mirabeau, down towards the hairpin for himself. That Alpine is glowing in the European sun. A little bit of a lock up there through the hairpin, but nothing he's going to be too concerned about.
It's on a brand new set of soft tyres, remember, so he's going to be pushing it in this final run here in qualifying. A great lap so far from Tom. He's going to be the first driver to set the fastest lap on this new set of soft tyres. A 107.4, can it be beaten through the Novel chicane? Nice and tidy over the inside. Now flying through to back, full send, hope that it grips up. You can tap the barrier slightly and get away with it. Flat out over the first part of swim board again. Tap the barrier a little bit on the exit, sort of bounce off it. Make sure you don't get front wing damage. Hitting with the side of the car, not the front. Through the Raskas and then into the anti-nose corner. DRS wide open on the exit there. Down to the line. Will it be an improvement? It is, and it's straight to the top for Tom.
Yeah, fantastic lap there from the Alpine driver, but here we go then. Noiguera is chasing down that pole position through the swimming pool chicanes. He comes, the Mercedes absolutely flying, like you said, tapping the barrier on that right-hand side. Into Raskas he comes, through Anthony No. He's on a 108.4 at the moment on used tyres. The DRS opens as he runs down to the line. Can this be provisional pole position? And yes, it can. Over 2/10 quicker than what Tom said a moment ago. Surely that is almost safe, but watching aboard with Gillen running down towards the Novel chicane, he's looking to make a charge for it. Not this time. It looks like he's backed off. Tim and Mardik through the swimming pool chicanes he goes, using every bit of track available that he has towards Raskas. He's looking to get his name on the top spot. Minute to go in this Q3 session. The man from down under, what can he do as he comes across the line? Is it going to be to the top? No, it's not. It doesn't look like an improvement.
Yeah, but it's a strong lap though, 107.5, very close to Alex Gillen. I think Gillen just got caught up with a bit of traffic there. Zafso on a brand new set of soft tyres. What can he do? A Season 1 champion, 2 podiums last time in Season 6, will come down to the line. It will be an improvement. No, it's not. Must have been validated on that lap. He's going to go for this one. One last lap and just tapping the barriers. And that is the difference we're seeing out there between the top drivers and the drivers who are maybe in the 108, edge of the 107s like Tim Marduk. We saw it out the swim pool. He stayed far clear from the barrier on the exit of that corner, whereas a lot of the drivers are slamming. There's Perya. He's not going nowhere near that barrier, but you need to hit it to find time. It's a weird way to drive these cars, but you've got to do it, otherwise you're going to lose out to your rivals. Perya down to the line. Can he improve? No, he can't. It's a 107.6. It's still P6 for him. Mr. Dale crossed the line, invalidated. No time. We'll start P10.
Yeah, unfortunate there for Dale. That's the risk you have when you're leaving it so late in the Q3 session. He didn't quite get the run that he would have wanted. Invalidate Meraki, though, over that sausage curb. Didn't look too comfortable. The car got rather unsettled as he runs up to Anthony Noel for the final time in this qualifying session. DRS opens for himself. Down towards the line he runs. Can he improve on P7? Yes, he can. It's P4 at the moment for the Williams driver. Next up will be Safso in the Williams. An earlier run didn't quite go his way towards the line this time, though. Can he improve up to P3? Yes, he can. And it will be the Haas of Alex Gillen just behind him, nicking P3 from him, I think. Was that
my
Eriguri up there into P2?
1,000th of a second. 1,000th of a second between those two. That's incredible stuff. Nogueira is still on his lap though. He's currently on provisional pole position. I don't think he needs to complete it. And he doesn't. He comes back into the pit lane. Incredible stuff. Our first qualifying session separated by 1,000th of a second. Unless Perya can do anything, he cannot. He comes into the box. Wow. That was absolutely incredible. I said we were going to have a new race winner today. I think we might just have it. And it will be a battle between these two great drivers, Nogueira and Eriguri. But we've seen it time and time again. These drivers are great in qualifying, but seem to trip up in the race. Can they break that curse and finish on the top step?
That is the question we're all asking. It's pole position number 2 for Nogueira here in the Creator Series. The man with 0 wins under his belt, and surely this is the prime opportunity for him to be able to do so as we run into the streets of Monaco, 70 laps ahead of our drivers. I think quite a few drivers out of position from where they typically would expect to find themselves here in the Creator Series. So anything is still to play for. Emphatic, of course, starting all the way down in P14. GB on his 50th race appearance in the Creator Series, starting down at the back of the grid. And I think everybody is a little bit confused as to where they're starting.
Yeah, we've got Mr. Dale as well. He'll be disappointed with that qualifying session. Feels like he probably had the pace to go a little bit quicker and move himself up the field. F1 Scott, great on debut. P9, that's a great performance. Raz and Shai, GB, they're going to be coming from the back of the field. We've got these two at the front, separated by 1,000th of a second. Could be a battle all the way through. I remember previous Monaco races, it was like Gillen versus Jorit. Just those two out on track, fighting all the way. Could we see something similar, but this time between Nogueira and Elray Guri? It's going to be a great fight, but then look for those drivers behind. You've got Tom, you've got Alex Gillen, you've got Zafso. Zafso looking very strong on this new game. Could he be a contender for another championship? Alpine are definitely the ones to watch in terms of constructors, but yeah, it's going to be a great season. And if the times are that close across the rest of the season, it's going to be unreal.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. The Alpine team looking like a very strong lineup here for Season 7, of course. Zafso and Tom, both of them looking with very successful histories in the Creator Series. Zafso on race start number 65 this afternoon. Tom on race start 55, so only 10 races that they are separated by a considerable amount of wins between them as well. Zafso, I believe, on 2 wins, Tom on 3, so a very good result over the course of a few seasons.
Yeah, certainly so, as we're building up now to the Monaco Grand Prix. As I said earlier, a difficult race, an endurance race, a race where it's not about pushing lap after lap, but if you are able to do that, you're going to come out victorious. It's all about who's the bravest, who's the most consistent driver. You can be consistent but slightly slow, and it can benefit you, of course. And you could be up at the front as we got the formation lap getting underway here in Monaco. You could be slightly slower, consistent, and that can benefit you because you stay on the barriers, you pick up the positions here or there where others make a mistake. But if you're not fast enough and there's other drivers ahead of you that are faster but also consistent, then they're going to drive away from you. I like to think of myself as a consistent driver, but I was off the pace. And around here, I was lapped plenty of times, you know, when we did these races. Not 2 laps down, but I was 1 lap down, I think, on both occasions. And that's just the difference between drivers. And we're going to see that extended over these 78 laps. And it is going to be incredible to see. But also, you know, you've got to time when you make those pit stops, because you could be going long in a strategy and a safety car comes out and it benefits you, of course. But the safety car can come out early. So if we look at the tyre strategies now, you know, Emphatic wants to go long. Raz and Shai, both the Ferraris want to go long. An early safety car is not going to benefit those, but instead benefit the likes of Meraki, Matty D, Curbs, and GB68 who are on the softs. You know, with the strategy, if it's a one-stopper, you kind of want to box early, catch back up to the train, and when they make their pit stops, get in front of them, and then hold on for as long as you possibly can. That's how the strategy could work out here today, but let's see how it works out for these two up at the front. No difference between the top 5. They're all on the mediums. Meraki's the one to break that. He's going to be the one to try and work his way through the field and, you know, ruffle a few feathers up at the front there and see what he can do. But it's Nogueira who will start from pole position. Elray Guri will be hunting him down in second. Let's see who can come out on top.
That is the question we're all asking. A considerable Grand Prix ahead of us. The front 5, as you said, all starting on the medium tyres. Interestingly enough, GB didn't decide to go for a free set in his 5 tyre challenge. There's your possible race strategies at the bottom of your screen. Medium to hard 1 stop, or medium hard on the 2 stop. We eagerly await the lights coming on your screens. We look back now from Nogueira. Probably has a bit of a reset moment, and the lights do come on. The engines rev, the crowd falls silent here in Monaco, and we go racing, and it's a good pull away from everybody on this grid. Nogueira gets a fantastic pull away as he leads into Sandoval. Round the outside though is coming Elray Guri. They're going to run side by side as they run up the hill through Beau Rivage. Surely one of them will have to back out at any given moment down towards Bastogne through the right-hander of Casino, and is Elray Guri to the lead in this race now, and it almost And a spin for Noiguera. Tom looks round the outside and they head round the right-hander towards Mirabeau, towards the hotel hairpin. Tom looks moved down the inside. There's moves being made further back as well. Berger and Mr. Dale having a little bit of a scrap. Both kick salvers going side by side, but Noiguera holds on to P2 for the time being out the front of this race. Eric Gehring putting a considerable gap on his Mercedes team friend further slightly back. My words aren't working at the moment. Hayden, what an opening lap we've just seen.
A great opening lap and a great battle at the start between Nogueira and Elray Guri. Elray Guri coming on top there. But then Tom and Nogueira fighting, that's really helped out Elray Guri to extend that lead to 1 second. Now F1 24, DRS is activated after the first lap. So the fact that Elray Guri has got that 1 second lead is going to massively benefit him. Those drivers aren't going to be able to get this DRS, although, you know, overtaking is difficult. The DRS doesn't help you that much. It can allow you to just close up a couple of tenths of a second. And if you stay behind your rival, you can just put them under pressure, stay in their mirrors, distract them slightly, hope that they make a mistake, and then you bounce on that. And as Elray Guri has extended that lead, it's going to make it more difficult for Nogueira to get within that battle. He has been able to jump F1 Scott. F1 Scott not getting off to the greatest of starts in his F1 debut, but is still sitting comfortably in P11. Now needs to calm down, you know, get himself sorted in this race. Get behind him, staying in P9. Not too many movers. Shine GB still sitting in the back of the grid, and be seeing what they can do further on in this race. But the gap now extending over 1 second as we get to the end of the second lap here in Monaco, and it is going to be no DRS for Nogueira, but also no DRS for Tom, who has dropped a little bit too far back. Could Alex Gillen, you know, get in a bit of a fight here?
Yeah, I think that's what he'd be hoping for. Of course, the DRS assistance gives that extra straight line speed as we run down towards Saint-Devote for the third time in this race. You mentioned earlier, now is the time where the drivers start to sit back, start to relax into their race routines ever so slightly. That's going to be important for our drivers here. GB68 must have had an early pit stop because he's 23 seconds off the back of Razin Shai here, so maybe taking some early free pit stops for his 5-tyre challenge, but curbs right on the back here of Bamford in the Visa Cash App. Racing Bull for P17, just ahead of him is Infratic, but they're in a bit of a Ferrari sandwich at the moment. Infratic leads, and it is Razin Shai just behind them, making a bit of a mini pack at the back.
Yeah, let's see if they can make any overtakes though, as GB68 has already made a pit stop, I believe, in this race. He's doing a challenge. He's trying to use as many different tyre compounds as possible in this race. He's into the box. Now he's going to be exiting the pit lane. I think this is going to be a second pit stop, so I don't know what tyres he's on at the moment. Will we ever see? No, we won't. As the two kick Sauber cars very close to each other. F1 Scott right to the back, and there we go. Thank you very much, Mr. Producer, Dirk Chocolate, who's on the hard tyres. And he's just made a second pit stop, I believe, in this race. So he's going to go make these two pit stops and then try and push hard on these hard tyres for as long as possible. But look at the top. Nogueira going fastest and reining back in Elray Guri.
Yeah, this is the challenge now for the Mercedes driver. He has the Mercedes-powered engine just in front of him. He's made the gap down to just over 1.1 seconds. And of course, the quicker he can reel in that Aston Martin, the quicker he will gain the DRS assistance on the start-finish rate. I can't wait for GB to try and stick on his pair of wets later on in the session. Of course, we don't quite know what the weather's going to be throwing at us, but now it remains strong on its own, but anything can happen in these races. The delta between the leads still staying fairly consistent at 1.2 seconds. Alex Gillen, though, still chomping out the bit to try and attack Tom for P3. Half a second just separates those two. Speaking of half a second, the kick Sauber that you saw briefly in a moment. Sato, it's all gone wrong for him. Surely through the Noval chicane and into the wall. He is there. The man who's our Season 1 champion is into the wall and is out on lap 4.
Yeah, that's not ideal for Zapso. I suspect he has clipped the inside barrier on the entry to the Novel chicane and maybe gone straight on, or it's a snap of oversteer. The virtual safety car has been deployed. I'm going to jump over to Zapso's stream now and let's have a little look at what happened. Unfortunately, as I said, no clip but for this week. So let's see what happened to Zapso. And he's heading out of the tunnel now, heading down into the Novel chicane, in towards the left, and yeah, he just clipped the inside. He had a lot of smoke coming from a car in front that was locking up, clipped the inside barrier, and it completely destroyed his front left tyre. Unfortunately, Zafso looked very strong in qualifying, but unfortunately it's all fallen apart for the Alpine driver, and unfortunately he is going to be out of this race. GB68 at the back of the field would have liked this virtual safety car to come, of course, when he was in the pit stop, going and doing this tyre strategy he's currently on at the moment. 2 seconds off the curb. Curbs has decided to make a pit stop though under this virtual safety car, so he's going to drop a little bit off. He's going onto hard tyres, going to try and go as long as possible, maybe even try and go to the end from here. We saw it in real life. The drivers could take the hard tyres from lap 3 all the way to the end, as Perya has mistimed the jump on the safety car restart and has got himself a drive-through penalty. That is going to be a kick in the teeth.
It really is. Not only did he have to slow down to 60% of his delta, he mistimed the restart. He's on a pair of medium tyres, so not only will he have to serve that drive-through, he's still yet to pit. I wonder, the question going through his mind now is, does he take it early and just jump to the back of the pack? That's surely what I'd be thinking, but I think he's taking it a little bit later, but it's all gone wrong for Guerra. He must have got the restart wrong. He's been jumped here by both Tom and Alex Gillen. They're up to P2 and P3 respectively. I think Bunju has had a bit of an incident further back as well. He's down to P13. Watson, Matty D, both making up positions here, up to P11 and P12 for them. Bunju, who's in the reserve spot for this afternoon, is currently in the lower end of the point-paying position. You can see the smoke that Hayden mentioned on the replays as drivers start to lock up. If you're driving on this track at the moment, it must really hamper your vision, miss your braking point, and that is exactly what we saw happen to Sapso just a few laps ago. But Tom is nowhere near comfortable at the moment. He's nearly 3 seconds off our race leader here, Alex Gillen, Guerra, and nearly Meraki starting to catch up with this pack. Tom will be very vulnerable down the start finish straight without that assistance, of course, but F1 Scott continues to put on a fantastic display on his debut in P10 at the moment. It will be P9 when Peugeot goes in to serve that drive-through penalty. The two Kit Saubers really working together as a team here. I say that as Scott went for a little bit of a dive around the outside and into the pits comes Peugeot to serve that drive-through penalty.
Yeah, M-Sky-Z doesn't have the pace we've seen from him in recent seasons. And, you know, he's struggling a little bit here with F1 Scott right on his tail. Someone who is struggling, Nagera, you alluded to it, you know, made a mistake, lost some positions. He went too deep down in towards turn 1, clipped the barrier on the outside, broke his front wing, and it allowed Tom and Alex to come through. He's running with front wing damage, slight lime green on the left side. He's going to compromise him a little bit, but if he's able to stay with the DRS of the cars in front, may be able to get away with that if there's a safety car, and he can change his front wing in a normal pit stop later on. But let's see how that develops over the race.
Yeah, of course, if it's hampering him too much, he might come in for a wing change later on in the race, but for now, he's managing to hold on to the drivers in front of him. Just an interesting thing to note, we've had Sapso DNF from this race. Dale, Elray, Guri, and Matty D were all 3 of the DNFs that we had last time out in Monaco when we raced here in Season 5. So our current race leader didn't manage to see the checkered flag just a couple of seasons ago. I don't want to put any commentator's curse on him, but he's got to come here with a .23, and then Aston Martin is currently proving it. Tom, though, dropping considerably off the back of our race leader. 7 seconds is the delta. Alex Gillen, I thought, was going to stick a wheel up just like Hulkenberg did at the weekend as they go around the left-hander of Massenet, still side by side on the run down to Morabo. They're still side by side through the right-hander. Alex Gillen surely has the advantage here. Tom got a little bit squeezed into the wall. He goes, and Alex Gillen is up to P2.
You can't overtake in Monaco, can you? Alex Gillen proving everybody wrong there as a safety car has been deployed in this race. Bamford has got a 10-second penalty for a severe collision with Perya, the 2 teammates colliding. I will go find out and see what happened between those 2 guys, but Bamford, you know, trying to do his best Austin Powers impression as the safety car's coming through, just about survived getting wiped out by the safety car then. Razin Shai made a pit stop, tried to jump Bamford there, but unfortunately unable to do so as they're trying to sort out positions amongst themselves, and Bamford will drop behind Razin there. Has a little bit of front wing damage, unfortunately, from the collision. We will see, and I will find out during the safety car what has happened between those guys, but the guys at the front coming into the pit stop and using this as an opportunity to change and go onto hards and take themselves maybe to the end of the race.
Yeah, I wonder if this is where some of our drivers will really be thinking about tactics, thinking about strategy, surely they'll be able to get some tyres till the end here if they've got those fresh set of cards. I wonder if GB will put on his wets for that, just a singular lap on the safety car to kick them off once again. But he does want to get re-going if the grid wants to sort itself out. Lots of drivers in for their pit stop stun though, choosing the medium tyre, Matty D being one of those. Everyone else, I think, opting for a set of the hards, or at least their old set of mediums they might have boxed under the safety car. As you can see, the tyre graphic continually changing to update. Lots of drivers in and out, changing their strategy at the drop of a hat. This really brings GB68 back into the party as everyone gets themselves sorted out. The timing screen jumping around left, right and centre. I think Matty D might be towards the back of the pack here. Bamford's in for that wing repair, of course.
Yeah, Bamford in for a wing repair. A few of the other guys coming into the pits, obviously using this as an opportunity. Guri, though, deciding not to. Strange decision from him, despite being, right up at the front, had the opportunity to come into the box. But of course, if you don't box, then everybody else, or if you box and everybody else doesn't, it takes you out of that contention for the race win. It's always difficult to race lead. If you're second, you can kind of, react to what the leader does, do what he doesn't do. As Alex Gurn also decides to stay out. Mr. Dale, though, promotes himself up to P3. If there's a red flag later on, or a safety car later on, could benefit Mr. Dale and put himself near the front, as Bamford has found himself into P1 for some reason, and is now dropping down through the order. So has a 10-second penalty to his name. I think that's just an issue, and it's been sorted now as he slides through turn 1 and has a collision. I think he was unlapping himself maybe from the safety car. Might have just got lapped there and has just unlapped himself, and now is free to drive on and try and rejoin to the back of the pack. This will really help GB68, of course, doing that challenge, trying to use all the compounds. He's now made a pit stop, of course, and is on the back of the rest of the drivers, so we'll have a chance now to get back in this race. Also for Razin Shai in P16, Infratic in P12. Let's see what he can do in this race. Of course, crashing out in Q1 compromised him for the rest of the qualifying, because he wasn't able to do any more running, but is now potentially back in this fight. The reigning champion, Tim Madu, P9. We look and see what he can do over the course of the rest of this race. But punches are jumping in that Red Bull. P6 at the moment, might be getting a bit of a nosebleed being so high.
Yeah, indeed, a very respectable performance here from Hunter, of course, driven got relegated to Formula 2 a couple of seasons ago, and I think from then, maybe just not quite been able to grasp into the F1 cars once again, but for now, P6 a very respectable position to be just behind Tom, just ahead of Marakin. I think definitely in the nose of the lead seats, as we like to call them, the up high ones. Guri still being commanding this race from the get-go. Mr. Dale, of course, up into P3, but MSkyZ, who was sat on our podium last time around when we raced here in season 5, is not far off it once again, P4, and I think he's looking to convert that to a podium in just about 60 or 70 laps time.
I was saying earlier, MSkyZ, we've not seen the same MSkyZ that we've seen in previous seasons, but there he is, P4, in contention, of course, now for a really strong result. But those drivers behind do have penalties, got Thomas on a brand new set of tyres right on his tail. Has the opportunity, of course, to jump in. So, what happened? What brought out this safety car? I've gone back, I've found Bamford's footage, and I've worked it out. He goes down into the first corner at the start of lap 8, tags the wall slightly on the left, it loses the rear, and he breaks his front wing. That puts him sideways. He tries to spin the car back around, only really does a 180 and hits the wall facing the other way. Then reverses as Perya is going through the first corner. His teammate, the bad rejoin, takes out Perya. Perya loses his front wing, and then Bamford has nowhere really to go and is just reversing up the hill in towards Massenet, trying to find an opportunity to turn the car around. Perya and Kurz both overtook him, and then he finally found a place to try and do the longest 20-point turn here in Monaco to get himself facing the right way again. But that's what brought out the safety car. Bamford, though, surely is going to be a difficult race from here. He had front wing damage, he fixed that, but he is going to be running with rear wing damage for the rest of this race. It's not just a little bit, it's very, very red. So he's going to be finding this race very difficult, and I don't think he's going to be making it to the end.
Yeah, you can see all the drivers heading through to back there behind the safety car. One of the Aston Martins, I believe that to be GB68, just heading up the hill through Beau Rivage. So not quite caught up to the safety car pack yet. I wonder if we can get a quick check on the tyres, see what everybody decided to pit onto when Bert Mylander decided to take a little trip himself around here. GB at the back onto the mediums, fresh set of mediums for himself. Everybody else once again going for a real mix of the mediums and the hards, looking to go longer into this race now. But as they say, the old saying goes, safety cars lead to safety cars. And I wonder how long it will be till we see Bert Mylander on our track once again.
Yeah, especially when you've got mixed tyre strategies. That's obviously going to play into it. You've got people like Tom, for example, like Tiamat Marduk, like Meraki, who are on newer sets of tyres, trying to attack those who are going to be around that 20% potential wear out on track. So this is what's going to make this exciting. Those guys attacking the guys who are trying to defend and hold position. For an Alex Gillen and Elray Guri, they're going to be hoping that SkyZ and Dale put up a great fight to hold those drivers back and allow them to extend a gap over the rest of the field so that when maybe another safety car comes out or just a normal pit stop, they're going to be in a good position and they don't lose out too many places when they make their mandatory pit stop. But of course, for now, this plays into the hands of Tom for Meraki, because they can go as long as possible. More so Tom, he can potentially take those hard tyres right till the end of the race. And if we have a clean race from here on out, he is looking good. But of course, anything can happen in Monaco. Anything can happen in the Creator Series. We had a red flag yesterday in F2. We could have our first red flag in F1 today. Let's find out. Let's see what happens. Safety car is in this lap, and we're going to go back racing.
We are indeed. 13 laps will have passed. Sorry, 12 laps will have passed us. We start once again on a lap 13. It will be one Aston Martin that leads us away. One Aston Martin towards the back of the pack. But Eric Guri, he's well experienced. He knows how to proceed a procession of cars, especially through the Principality of Monaco. And he's got to choose his moment carefully. When is he going to go? Rounding the final corner, surely through Anthony Knowles, and he does indeed. The foot goes to the floor, and Eric Guri leads us away for lap 13 of 78, and it is Alex Gillen and Mr. Dale on the immediate charge. Tom, I think, got caught out a little bit further back. He's already a second and a half behind M SkyZ in the beautifully green and black Kick Sauber car as they run up up Beau Rivage towards Massenet, round the right hander now of Casino down towards the hairpin, one of the tightest corner on the Formula 1 calendar. Looking for a move down the inside is the Williams and Meraki on the Red Bull of Punju. An audacious send, but he makes it work this time around. Meraki up to P6. Punju on his return to Formula 1, albeit reserving, will have to settle for P7 for now. F1 Damien, another one of the reserves today, with about 30 seconds notice to his name, is up in P8, trying to hamper the Punju in front of him.
Watch out for an overtake from Meraki as Tiamat Marduk goes wheel to wheel with F1 Damien there. Can't quite get the position done, but Tom is running with freezing cold tyre temps. 60 degrees in the carcass temperature of his hard tyres right now. He's got Meraki on mediums right behind him. His engine is also overheating at 162 degrees. So that's really going to compromise his straight line speed as well. He's caught back up to the likes of M SkyZ, but a lot of drivers at the moment struggling with the tyre build-up. It's very difficult in this year's game to build up tyre temperature. You can't just hold the brake and hold the throttle at the same time on the safety car laps because it doesn't build up carcass temperature anymore. So you have to really work the wheel, but unfortunately that's also going to give you tyre wear, and that's in the situation that we've currently got right now. Tom, though, is still able to hold off Meraki and has caught up to the front or to the rear of M SkyZ, as well as Nogueira right on the back of Tiamat Marduk. Nogueira has changed that front wing, I believe, and so he's going to be in a much better situation now for this race. It did lose him the position to Meraki on a similar strategy, but a new front wing will benefit him a lot more.
Yeah, thinking long term here is the Mercedes Nogueira on the back of Tiamat Marduk on the run down towards the Noval chicane. He might look to the inside, but I think sensibly just backs out this time around. He knows it's a long race ahead of him. He's got F1 Scott behind him, but not for long. Infratic makes an audacious move out of the Noval chicane as they ran through to back. The man who started in P16 is all the way up to P11 at the current moment in time. Infratics on an absolute blinder of a race so far. His teammate Razin Shai will have an opportunity here to get past Matty D, who went all kinds of wrong through the Larascas as they run down to start lap 16 here. The Ferrari hamping at the bit of the Ferrari-powered Haas down towards Sandoval. Up the hill they go, and Razin Shai will not be letting Matty D go at any moment in time. On board here with both Mercedes going side by side through the left-hander. There's no team orders here running down the hill. They're still side by side. It's going to be F1 Damien on the outside. Noiguera has the inside line. That front wing replacement really starting to help him, and he's up to P9. Will start to try and challenge Team McMardick in just a couple of moments. Surely it's a case of if not when now for Team McMardick and Noiguera. Up to the lead of the race though, Alex Gillen putting pressure on El Rey Guri in the Aston Martin towards the left-hander off to back. The Haas is not hanging around. The Aston Martin has some work to do if he wants to try and hang on to the lead. Alex Gillen, of course, one of the best win rate percentages in the entirety of Creator Series. Matty D and Curbs both getting 3-second penalties there. 4 track limits, round to start lap 16 here. Everybody is getting involved in a battle somewhere.
Yeah, there's battles going on up and down the field right now, unless you're Bamford, who's currently 14 seconds off of GB68. Tom on the back of MSkyZ, and again, this trend is starting to settle in. MSkyZ not having the pace on F1 24 that he did have on F1 23. But look at Mr. Dale, very good position for himself at the moment. Has a nice comfortable gap to the cars in front. He's not too worried about getting in the fight with those guys, but also a nice gap to MSkyZ behind, so not having to look in his mirrors and can just focus on his own race. Further down the field, Infratic having a great race at the moment, putting himself up into P11 and now hunting down F1 Damien. Is up the inside, goes Razin on Matty D, who just got a 3-second time penalty on the previous lap. Razin doesn't want to wait for the penalty though, wants to get a move on, dived it up the inside in towards Mirabeau. A fantastic maneuver. Will have his sight set on F1 Scott as Bamford has retired from this race. Not too sure if that's in the pit lane or not. Doesn't look like we're getting a safety car in this race. I believe that most likely is going to be in the pit lane. He was running with that rear wing damage. Probably did a couple of laps and realised, unfortunately, this is not going to work out. Razin up the inside, into the back. This time on F1 Scott, contact between the two of them. Scott not wanting to give up on that, and he'll be hoping he gets away with no front wing damage.
Yeah, it's all Russian from Razin. He wants to try and get the positions made as quick as he can after an early Q1 exit for the Ferrari boys. They're both trying to make a charge through the field, 11th and 12th respectively here for Infratic and Razin Shai. F1 Damien is next on their target list, but F1 Scott still having a fantastic debut here in the F1 Creator Series, staying within the top 15. That's commendable work for the man that started as a commentator, ended up in F2, through his own accord got to F1, and now is starting to challenge the best of the best for positions further up at the front of the field. Tom's got past MSkyZ. I think they were going side by side ever so briefly here. Meraki is not far off this battle at all. It looks like Meraki and MSkyZ are going to go side by side through the tunnel. Yes, they are on the run down to Noel Chicane. I think MSkyZ is going to have to back out, and yes, he is. Very, very sensible there from the Kick Sauber driver. Is a longer race than just one turn, and he'll hold P6 for now. Razin Shai, though, gets past his teammate, a very similar move that we saw earlier. F1 Scott has to cut the chicane. He gets a 3-second penalty for that and has to give up the position to Matty D as well.
Yeah, unfortunately there for F1 Scott. You know, just went a little bit too deep. Thought that he rejoined the track in a slow enough fashion to not get himself a penalty, but unfortunately picks up a 3-second and also loses a place to Matty D as well, who also has a 3-second time penalty. Would have been hoping, you know, at least if you're going to give me the 3-second time penalty, I get to keep my position ahead of Matty D. As contact there between Razin and F1 Damien, but Razin on the charge at the moment. He's got a new set of tyres from that safety car and is pushing hard. GB68 overtaking Perya, moving himself up into P17. What happened to Bamford, you ask? He had front wing damage after he had the rear wing damage as well. He went in towards up the top of the hill, and he just ran it wide, went into the wall, and broke off his rear right tyre. So he didn't retire in the pit lane. Lucky for a lot of these guys not to have a safety car, because it would have messed up a few of their strategies out on field. Up at the front, Mr. Dale still looking good, but will now be hunted down by the likes of Tom and Meraki, who are on a brand new set of tyres, and they've just dispatched of MSkyZ, and we'll be looking for those guys. Punji, though, in a good position still, does have a 3-second time penalty to his name, but Team at Marduk and Nagera are hunting them down. So we're watching on board right now with Nagera right on the back of Team at Marduk, and they're on the back of the Red Bull driver. It should only be a matter of time before they get through the American driver out of the final corner in towards anti-nose. DRS open, of course, for Team at Marduk and Nagera. Can they do anything down in towards this turn one? Not quite. close enough between those two. Up at the front, though, Elray Guri and Alex Gillen still separated by half a second as it stands. And Mr. Dale, as I say, just comfortable. 3 seconds off those guys, but still keeping a nice gap to Tom and Meraki, who will be starting to close it down. But look how close Alex Gillen is the back of Elray Guri. It's so difficult in this position as a driver. It's always better to be the hunter than the hunted. You always seem to have so much more pace when you're in the car behind. You feel like you can just nail your braking points and your turning points. But as soon as you get ahead, as soon as you're that car in front, the mistakes start to creep in and you feel that pressure. Nogueira having a look on Team at Marduk here.
Yeah, I wonder how much his engine is going to start overheating, though, in the dirty air from Elray Guri up ahead. Nogueira, who started up towards the front of this race, now down in P9, trying to challenge Team at Marduk and Punju. Emphatic, though, further back, adds to the list of penalties for our drivers. He also gets a 3-second time penalty for track limits warnings. But this pack at the moment continuing to run through the grid. It's MSkyZ all the way down to Nogueira. This pack of 4 starting to really battle amongst themselves, not helping any of the individual drivers. Meraki is a little bit blessed at the moment. He's got that gap to MSkyZ, now roughly around the 4-second mark, but up towards the top. Tom and Meraki have both caught up with Mr. Dale. That safety net the Red Bull driver thought he had is there no more. He's got about 4 seconds in front of him to Alex Gillen, but he has an Alpine on the back of him. Down the inside, here goes Tim and Marduk on Punju as they headed down towards the hairpin. It was a dive and a half from the man down under, and he sent it, licked the stamp, and it went well. And Team at Marduk up to P7. Punju, of course, with that penalty, will have to hamper the positions later on in the race, but for now, Team at Marduk up to P7. His teammate Watts down in P16, trying to challenge curbs, and on board now with Nogueira down towards the Noval chicane, and almost a little bit of contact there between himself and Punju. I would not want to be Punju right now, having Nogueira in my mirrors, left, right, and centre as we head through the left-hander of Tabak. That is surely a very precarious situation for Punju.
Can we just appreciate that Punju is not only on a used set of tyres as well as MSkyZ, but also catching up to the likes of MSkyZ. Yes, okay, he's in that battle, and he's getting overtaken by the likes of Team at Marduk, and is probably going to get overtaken by Nogueira soon, but has the pace to potentially jump MSkyZ in this race. Who would have thought that? A driver who was in F2 last season, reserving for Formula 1 this season, is now beating or potentially faster than a driver who was challenging for the championships in the previous 2 seasons. MSkyZ might have an issue, and I'm going to jump onto his stream and see if he's got any damage that he's hiding in this race, because there must be a reason for this lack of pace. Surely it's not just a new game cycle as we're watching this battle form at the back. Remember, of course, in Creator Series, points are awarded all the way down to 15th position as long as you are classified in the race standings. That goes down to Curb. So G-Watch, GB68 and Perya will all be looking to try and move themselves up the order to score at least a point in this race. Meanwhile, back at the front, Tom and Meraki have now caught up to the Red Bull of Mr. Dale. He's been having a strong race so far. He's driving his own cycle at the moment, waiting for maybe a safety car later on in the race to benefit himself. But for now, is in P3, but is under pressure from the Alpine and the Williams.
Yeah, he has the straight line speed at the moment to try and hold off the Alpine and the Williams behind him. The question is, when does Mr. Dale try and give up P3 to secure the result later on? He might be able to use the drivers behind him and act as a mini peloton. Punju there getting another 3-second penalty for track limits, multiple warnings. That brings himself up to 6. He's still safe to F1 Damien behind, but Razin Shai will be counting his chickens at the moment. That's a free place for the Ferrari drivers. They run down towards the hairpin once again. I don't think Razin's going to rest on his laurels though, as he dives down the inside of the Red Bull racing car down towards the hairpin. Razin Shai, who started towards the back of the pack, is making moves as he continues to blast through this Monaco circuit. He's not letting anyone get beside him at the moment. Now he has Nogueira and MSkyZ set in his sights, just mere meters up the track in front of him. Razin is on an audacious charge through the grid. I wouldn't be surprised if we see him on the podium at the end of this race, Hayden.
Yeah, but also look out for Team at Marduk as well, because he's got past MSkyZ now. Nogueira is going to be the next one, hot on the heels of the Kick Sauber car, looking to try and elevate himself in this race. Emphatic's picked up a 3-second time penalty. Punju now on to 6 seconds of penalties. I said he was running well, and he does have good pace, especially over the likes of MSkyZ, but needs to stop picking up the penalties. And SkyZ does not have any damage. He's just struggling in this race. Whether it's set up, I'm not too sure. but he just doesn't have the pace compared to what he did in F1 23. Punju's dropped off a little bit from the likes of Razin and MSkyZ and Nogueira, but we'll be looking to reel those guys back in as Mr. Dale's now been overtaken by Tom. Meraki will want to get a move on as quickly as possible on Mr. Dale. He doesn't want to lose Tom. He wants to follow him as much as possible, though Meraki is on mediums. So theoretically, he should be faster than Tom, even at this stage of the race. You know, those hards haven't gone long enough to be better than the mediums at this stage of the race. So Tom, Mr. Dale, and Meraki is, as it stands, in 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Up at the front, you've still got Alex Gillen and El Rey Guri, but let's see what Tom can do. New tyres will be hunting down the likes of Alex Gillen and El Rey Guri, but with maybe taking these to the end, and if those guys don't get a safety car and get caught up in traffic, this race could fall into Tom's hand. Now, if we focus our minds back to the start of F1 23, who won the first race on that game? I believe it was Tom. Could he potentially do it back-to-back? Brand new game, first race of the season, get a race win. Let's find out.
Yeah, that'd be absolutely spectacular for Tom to be able to pull the double. 2 game cycles, 2 wins for himself as Meraki. We just briefly saw there getting past Mr. Dale into the first few corners up the hill they run. But on board with MSkyZ, who was almost side by side with Nogueira at a previous moment in time. Razin Chai on the heels of both of them at the moment. The kick Sauber not finding its grip at the moment. The rear end sliding left and right repeatedly down the inside. Once again goes Razin Chai. He's done it time and time again. This time though, the door firmly shut on him by MSkyZ. He's not going to get up to P8 at the present moment. He'll have to wait for a later opportunity. This gives Nogueira just a little bit of breathing room from the 2 dragons behind him. Razin and MSkyZ still chasing each other through the tunnel down towards the Nouvelle chicane. Will Razin try it down the inside? The time's decreasing. I don't think so. It's not a move you quite often see. The Ferrari will just have to sit there for the time being. P9 at present. MSkyZ is his next target, and this, I have a feeling, won't last very long. Razin Chai, after putting on the fresh set of tyres after the safety car, has been looking very, very quick indeed. Surely he's going to make the move at the next available opportunity, which might be the end of this DRS zone down towards Saint Devote. Let's watch on board. Both of the drivers with DRS. I think the kick Sauber actually doesn't manage to get it from Nogueira in front, and it's an easy overtake by Razin Chai in the end. Now, Nogueira is his next target. Ferrari versus Mercedes, a battle for the history book.
Razin's been on an absolute madness since that safety car restart. There's a slide there from Matty D through the first corner, just opened the door for the likes of GB68 now to move into the points. Guats as well in P15. That's a big mistake from Matty D. But Razin, it's got to be a bit of tyres. He made that pit stop, of course, so he had a brand new set of tyres compared to a lot of the guys in front of him. But the reason why it was probably more difficult for him in the earlier stages of this race is because a lot of these guys near the back end of the field, there's a lot of desperation back there. They don't tend to necessarily think about the long game, about the 78 laps ahead of them. It's about, let's get this position now, let's overtake now. And there's a lot of side-by-side battles that go on back there and a lot of time lost. And it's always difficult to find your way through because, you know, where are you supposed to go around Monaco? If there's 2 cars going side by side, there's nowhere for you to make an overtake. And I think that's why Razin just got caught up very much in the earlier stages of this race. But with the brand new set of tyres that he had, was able to pick them off one by one. I think he's just been a little bit more aggressive since that safety car restart, and it's worked for him. He's up into P8. He's hunting down Nogueira now, and he's certainly in that fight for potentially a race win. If a safety car comes out, it can definitely switch it up as Punju's decided to make a pit stop, was running well, might have picked up some damage, and is now into the pits to see what he can do over the rest of the race. Unfortunate not to, of course, get that under safety cars. Razin having a look all over. No, sorry, that's Emphatic having a look all over the back of F1 Damien as they go into the casino section, now in towards Mirabeau, downhill, on the brakes, going into the hairpin section, lock up there from Emphatic, and he's got a kick Sauber of F1 Scott right on his tail. Emphatic needs to get past F1 Damien quickly and also needs to gap him by 3 seconds. Has that 3-second time penalty to his name, and that is going to loom over him.
It does indeed, of course. If the safety car comes out later on, that 3 seconds will really hamper him towards the end stages of this race. Back towards the top, though, Tim and Marduk managed to get past Mr. Dale up to P5 for himself. And I wonder if that Rebel's got ever so slight damage or Mr. Dale's just dropping off on the tyres, because he was running third for a considerable amount of these first 27 laps. Now finds himself down in P6 with Nogueira closing in rather rapidly. from P7. You can see the time delta decreasing between the two with every single passing corner. Mr. Dale, I think, just holding on to the DRS of Team Monaco front, but the battle on your screens at the moment is Infratic, still struggling to get past the Mercedes of F1 Damien in front of him. They run up the hill now through Beau Rivage towards Massenet, this left-hander here. Infratic being rather patient, quite the opposite of what we've seen by his teammate Razin earlier on in the race. Will he try the move down the same place? No, he won't. He's going to be patient, wait in line, wait his turn, and that is what is crucial for Infratic right now. We can see on board here with Tom, he's managing to chase down Alex Gillen. He's been dropped by El Guri, and now the gap between the Haas and the Alpine car at less than a second within DRS range is the man in the Alpine. They round the final couple of corners, and now Tom is within the chasing zone of one of the best win percentage drivers in the entirety of Creator Series. What is Gillen's response going to be? How defensive does he go through the streets of Monaco?
Watt picks up a 3-second time penalty there, but yeah, one of the most, the highest win percentages in Creator Series for Alex Gillen. That percentage, though, came down in the previous season. One of the first times he had a full-time seat in Creator Series, but it didn't seem to work out for him. There's a little mistake there from F1 Scott, loses the rear end out of the Raskas, and that allows GB68 now to move up into P12, potentially with a top 10 finish in his sights. Infratic is the car next up the road for the Aston Martin driver, and they're all backed up in this train from F1 Damien. F1 Damien yet to make a pit stop, and it's just backing them up. Infratic still unable to find a way through from F1 Damien. Is pretty much attached. He's got a hook to the back of that Mercedes car, and Damien is pulling him around this track at this stage of the race. Infratic, though, still unable to find his way through. Up at the front, not too much change up there, but Nogueira now picking up a 3-second time penalty as they try now to get past Mr. Dale. 0.3 of a second there, but this train for P10 for the top 10 shootout, and it is F1 Damien that's holding on to it. But into the box comes El Guri, unable to benefit like those other drivers with a safety car pit stop, and is now going to have to push hard and find his way through the traffic. Has he found a good gap, a good place to come out to avoid the bunch? Because you do not want to get stuck behind P10. He needs to come out ahead of F1 Damien, and I think he's going to do just that. He's clear, in fact, ahead of M Sky Z, which we know, of course, those two have come to blows quite a bit this season. But of course, Sky Z will have his tyres up to temperature. El Guri is going to need to go through that cycle as Infratic has a look up the inside into turn one. Can't pull it off.
It was an optimistic move into turn one. I think he's getting a little bit desperate now as the Ferrari drivers, they run up the hill once again. Watching with Tom here. He's now going to try and mount a charge for the lead of this race down towards the Noval chicane. Alex Gillen cutting off that opportunity with expert precision. Further behind, you can just see Meraki there in the distance. GB, though, has got past Infratic for P11. What has happened here? The Ferrari, who was chasing down the Mercedes for P10 for a considerable amount of laps, has allowed the Aston Martin to sneak through undetected. I wonder if we were able to cut across back to that battle. We'll continue watching for the time being on board with Tom, though. But here we go. On board with GB. He's now on the back of both Mercedes-powered cars, watching from F1 Scott's perspective as they run down towards the back. Can GB try and get within the top 10 here? He started at the back of the pack and was there for a considerable amount of laps, and now he has a Mercedes in front of him. Mr. Dale's got passed by Nogueira as they run up the hill, but the battle at the moment we're watching is GB. His turn is now. The gauntlet has been passed to him. Can he get past F1 Damien at the second time of asking? Surely into Sandoval, you're going to send a move. He's looking around the outside. Damien holds the inside with all of his might, and it's just not there for GB68. They'll run up the hill. They're going to go side by side. Surely this isn't going to go well. A little bit of contact between the two, but through goes GB up to P10. He did what Infratic couldn't do, and he now will try and mount his charge on M Sky Z, who's 9.5 seconds up the road.
Minister of Defence, F1 Damien, he's been formidable so far today in Monaco. Just literally the width of the track, but GB68 was able to break down that wall and move himself up into the top 10. Great drive so far from GB68. Razin now on the hunt of Mr. Dale. We'll be looking to get past him as soon as possible, as Tom also on the hunt of Alex Gillen in towards the first corner, unable to find a way through there. Punju, when he came into the pit stop, I know there was a few people asking in the chat, but it wasn't a front wing change, just a normal pit stop, as we've seen the likes of El Guri doing as well. Alex Gillen, though, will he come into the pits? Or is he still trying to hold out for a safety car? You know, it's Monaco. Anything can happen, especially with that fight that's going on from 11th down. They are so close together that they could easily, you know, come together and have a mistake, as Razin makes an overtake there on Mr. Dale, moves himself up into P6. Of course, Dale on older tyres. It was an unexpected overtake there from Razin to make on Dale. He's focusing on his own race. He's going long, hoping for a safety car, hoping for a red flag, and get that free pit stop, and then put himself maybe in contention up at the front and maybe for a top 5 finish.
Yeah, Dale's running a completely different game plan to the majority of the drivers further back. That was Team McMurdoch, that was F1 Scott. Into the back of F1 Scott here as this group continues through the hairpin. They're still nose to tail pretty much from F1 Damien all the way back to curbs in that Williams. Punju's fallen ever so slightly off the pace, but the English Minister of Defence, F1 Damien, still continuing to defend from Infratic behind. GB is gapped them by 2.5 seconds already. Scott gets another penalty, but here we go. Gary Guri's got past Mr. Dale as well. Dale continuing to drop positions. Tom, though, is putting a pressure on Alex Gillen for the lead of this race. A little bit of a kick out there for the Alpine drivers. They run down towards the hairpin. It's Alpine versus Haas. He had a look down the inside, decided against it, and I think Tom is just happy to sit behind at the moment. He's not using any ERS. He's just happy to sit behind, gather some battery back, and then we'll try and mount his charge. You can watch GB there running up the hill. Further behind was that pack of cars, but Tom in this Alpine is not letting go. He wants the lead of this race. Here we go, side by side with Infratic, who eventually has got the move made on the Mercedes behind him. A similar place where we saw Razin get past Dale, but Damien's not done. There's contact between the two of them. There's a massive Constantina effect. Cars are going everywhere. Front wings are going everywhere. So F1 Scott's got damage. Dale's got damage. There's a safety car out, and that was just a chaos corner here in Creator Series.
I was watching that on board with Mr. Dale. He just come into the pit stop. He just mistimed it. He got caught up in that train. We spoke about with Elroy Guri. You want to come out in front of the likes of Infratic and that big train that was happening, because if you get caught up with those guys, it's going to be so difficult to get past. And of course, he's just come into the pits. He's come out of the pits. Brand new set of tyres. Now hoping to go on the charge, and has got caught up with a collision as F1 Scott drove into the wall out of the Novo chicane under the safety car. So I'm not too sure whether his eye was focusing elsewhere, but that's unfortunate for F1 Scott. I'm not too sure if he got any damage. Who does this help out then? Alex Gillen helps out Alex Gillen massively. Elroy Guri will shoot back up to second. Tom's still trying to go to the end, but it's going to be compromised now because Elroy's going to have a brand new set of tyres to his name and is going to easily be able to get past Tom. So for Tom, he's going to need to hope for a safety car later on. You've just got to feel that maybe Tom should have boxed, but then he's already gone to a set of hard tyres. For those guys who can switch to hard tyres now, this is perfect for them. For those who switch to the mediums, it's going to be difficult come the end of the race to make these last all the way to the end of lap 78. But for those guys like Meraki, Alex Gillen, Elroy Guri, this is looking good for them. Razin Shai, he's going to have a bit of difficulty with Tim at Marduk and Nogueira on the mediums ahead, but they're going to maybe try and attack Meraki, Gillen, Elroy, and of course Tom, who's going to be very slow on this safety car restart and ruffle a few feathers up there. But Razin Shah will be able to pounce. Could this bring Skyzy back in? Will he be able to find that pace in the second half of the race and, elevate himself up the front? Perya and the Curbs, though, are going to be, the cork in the bottle here. 24 laps and 28 laps on hards. Everybody else on brand new set of tyres. Mr. Dale, I believe, has come in for another pit stop, has now gone to mediums, has fixed that front wing, and is going to be looking to try and get back into the race that he was having in the first half. But this is really shaking things up here in Create Series F1.
It really has. I don't think anybody quite knows what the strategy is anymore. As you've said, Perya and Curbs, a little bit of a bottleneck in the pack at the moment. Both of them not pitting under this safety car. I think Tom maybe getting a little bit caught out as well. Alex Gillen diving in at the perfect time. The Alpine, on the other hand, deciding to stay out and not go in for a fresh set of tyres. Punju, unfortunately, leaving the session, but hopefully we'll be able to get him in for this safety car gets released. But everybody starting to bunch back up once again. Mr. Dale, after a fantastic performance so far, I think this might have helped him. I believe he started on the mediums, went long, went on to those hards for one lap, and he's back on to a set of mediums that he'll be able to see out till the end of the race. So as much as he's had a little bit of damage, he's had a little bit of commotion, he's got another pit stop on. He's on the fresher tyres. He's on the softer tyre compound to what he was just a brief moment ago. And he will be able to go and try and mount a charge, although a considerable amount of cars between him and the podium of which he is dreaming.
Yeah, here we go. Lap 34. Safety car conditions at the moment. Tom leading the way. What is he going to do in this race? 25 lap old medium hard tyres. It's going to be difficult for him here. This allows Punju, though, to come back in. He's right down near the back of the field. I'm not too sure if he's a lap down at the moment. It's showing him 1 minute 11 seconds behind, which is about a lap time around here. But I think he's just ahead of the safety car at the moment. We'll be looking to try and catch back up. Had some really good pace. Was matching M Sky Z earlier on. And maybe if he can get back up to the back of the train, can try and make a bit of progress. We've got F1 Scott, who had a great qualifying, got caught up in a few incidents, of course, got caught up with that collision with Infratic and F1 Damien, who really kind of got away with that. You know, both went sideways. Okay, that might be why. Punju got removed from the session, but has now rejoined. But yeah, for Infratic and Damien, just kind of got away with that. They were the culprits of the crash there, but they're still kind of in 12th and 13th, still behind GB. Only really jumped by Puryear and Curbs because they haven't made that pit stop. But Puryear again getting another penalty, I think for speeding under safety car, I believe that was. So it just keeps on ignoring these deltas, and it's really hurting him in this race. The RB team suffering at the moment. Bamford out of the race, and the other driver can't stop picking up penalties. Other drivers who have penalties. We've got Nogueira on 3 seconds. We've got Infratic on 3 seconds. G-Watts on 13. Matty D, Scott, and Punju all on 6 seconds. But for the likes of Puryear, I think he can come into the box and serve those 10 seconds. And it might be wise to pit now, go to the back anyway, take the 10 seconds hit, get rid of that, and then see what happens over the rest of the race. But unfortunately, then you're at the back of the train, and you might find it difficult to get through. But you will at least be ahead of Punju, who is quite a large distance away from everybody else.
Yeah, I think the question some of the drivers will be asking is whether it's worth taking that initial hit at this current moment in the race, or waiting until the end and hoping you have that 10-13 second gap made up in terms of pure race pace when they cross the finish line. Bear in mind, we haven't even crossed half race distance here in this Monaco Grand Prix. That comes about lap 39 as a Puryear does indeed go into the pit to try and remove that penalty. Of course, those 10 seconds are doubled from what they were last season. They would have been 5, now they're 10. So really causing some havoc to drivers, and they have to think a lot more carefully about some of the incidents that they get themselves involved in. F1 Scott's in, I believe, for a penalty removal as well, or maybe some front wing adjustments, new set of tyres for himself, as Punju has unfortunately left the session once again. So not going too well for the Red Bull drivers. Mr. Dale in P13 at the moment, unlucky for some, and then Punju, who is having some internet issues, down in P18. Safety car still not in though. We'll be doing at least one more, well, at least the end of this lap, maybe more if some of the drivers don't quite catch up to the front.
Yeah, really unfortunate there for Punju, having some internet issues, unable to get back into the lobby. Got back in momentarily. I think he was unable to take control of his car, and unfortunately there has had to remove himself from the lobby once again. I'd like to go quickly on board with Punju. Is he within the mix? Is his AI car potentially going to become a problem? It's at the back of the train, I believe, so it might be okay. I think it's just ahead of Puryear and F1 Scott, so it might be difficult for those two, but the blue flag should come out straight away. Punju will get out of the way, and the safety car is going to be in this lap. What can Tom do? Can he defend from here? Very old tyres, but El Rey is going to be right on him.
That's the question. Old tyres, El Rey, of course, on slightly younger tyres, but not completely as young as Alex Gillen further back. Tom is going to wait us till the line. Look at some drivers speeding up further back. That will catch them out, but Tom does decide to launch right at the finish line on the run down to Sat Devote. It looks like the McLaren, rather, of Team McMartic trying to dive down the inside of Meraki. A little bit of contact between the two as they run up Beau Rivage now for the 37th time in this Grand Prix. Team McMartic will have to wait behind the Williams. He'll be itching at the bit to try and get that move done, but for now it's not going to happen. Mr. Dale's dropped down a position. Watts has got up to P13. GB68's got past Curbs further back. back past both of those bottlenecks that we saw earlier. Down the inside goes MSkyZ trying to hold off from GB68. Curbs is in there too. The other McLaren of Gwatz, Damien, Dale and Matty D all getting involved in that very tight pack as they run through the hairpin. A little bit of a spin further back. I think we saw there is indeed Gwatz and Mr. Dale having a bit of a shenanigan through the tunnel, but through down towards the Novel chicane they run. The Mercedes of Gwatz holding off from Dale, and he's round. It's all gone wrong for Dale. He almost collided with his teammate Punju there. What has happened between the two of them? Maybe just a locking of the rears there, Hayden.
Yeah, I think unfortunately, and this is what we've seen with Mr. Dale time and time again in previous F1 seasons, is just the loss of head. As soon as something happens, it's very difficult for him to get back into that groove. Went up the inside, in towards turn 1 on the safety car restart, got a 3-second time penalty, got a legal overtake, had to give 1 place back, then Gwatz came through, it was contact up the hill, broke his front wing, and then of course we saw it unfold on the broadcast. Got a little bit too close with each other as he ran down in towards the Nova chicane, lost the rear end, and unfortunately spun himself around, and it's going to be very difficult here for Dale to get himself back in, but he needs to switch back on. He needs to forget what happened, get back into that groove that he had earlier on. There's still a long way left to go. 40 laps left of this race. Lots of potential to get back into it, and lots of potential to still pick up points.
Yeah, Mr. Dale's one of those very mentally strong drivers, but when it goes wrong, it really seems to go wrong for him. When it rains, it pours, as they say. F1 Scott and Persia going side by side through the tunnel here, down toward the Novel chicane. I think they're still going to be side by side when they come out. They are indeed. Persia has the inside line. They're not going to be able to fit too wide through there, but somehow they have done this contact between the two of them. Scott's round. There was contact on the rear of that Kick Sauber car. How have they managed to make it through with minimal damage between the two of them? But that's really going to hamper Persia's race. But not only that, I think someone else got caught up further back as well. I believe that to be Punju.
Move for the lead here. El Rey Guri round the outside of turn 1, and he swoops through into the lead of the Monaco Grand Prix. Tom defended like a lion in that Alpine, but unfortunately it was not able to hold. Those tyres are going to be hurting him. He's going to be hoping for a late safety car to bring him back into this race. But El Rey Guri breaks past, and for him now, he'll be hoping that Tom defends very, very hard against Alex Gillen to help give the Aston Martin a bit of a breathing room, a bit of a gap to be consistent and calm it down in this race. F1 Scott and Perrier, of course, getting caught up with each other, and they're going to be dropping further off the rest of that field. Mr. Dale has come into the pits, replaced his front wing, and will be trying to go again in this race. Alex Gillen on the back of these guys as well. He'll be looking to try and get past Tom now as soon as possible, but Tom not losing the rear of El Rey Guri as much as I was expecting him to. El Rey Guri not breaking away as much in this race, and he kind of needs to do so, because as soon as Gillen gets past Tom, he's going to be on the hunt of the Aston Martin driver.
Of course, with DRS being activated after only 1 lap as well, this will give Tom the saving grace that he might need. Punju has retired. I believe that to be in the pits further back. GB68 has got past MSkyZ as they run down to Saint Devot for the 40th time here in this Grand Prix. Crossing half a race at distance. It might not feel like it, but we're only halfway through this Monaco Grand Prix. F1 Scott sets the fastest lap time of the race as we watch MSkyZ just having a little bit of a love tap by Infratic on the rear, but up at the top it's still Tom Lee, just behind El Rey Guri, Tim and Mardik and Alex Gillen having a little bit of a scrap as everybody else all the way down to Razin Chai comes to get involved in the lead for the battle here. F1 Damien still defending all the way down in P13. Matty D cannot find a way past him as things stand, and that Mercedes is about three meters wide, or so it seems to the drivers behind him.
Monaco's supposed to be a boring race, isn't it? This is incredible. Battles are going on in so many places. We don't know where to look right now. Now we've got one of Infratic on the back of MSkyZ, although Infratic has picked up 6 seconds of time penalties, needs to stay away from those white lines, needs to keep it within them, because we're only just over halfway of race distance. And you've already picked up 6 seconds of time penalties. That could hurt you right at the end of the race. Up at the front, though, fighting, of course, we've got Alex Gillen and Team Emadi. But here goes Infratic round the outside of MSkyZ. He's not giving up too easily, but does give the room. And Infratic up the hill. Oh, a little bit of contact. Will banging between the two of them. MSkyZ now right around the outside. bit of a wall ride, I think, through there as well, in towards Casino, but there we go. Infratic now moves up into P9, overtakes MSkyZ up the front. Tom defending against Alex, but Alex is going to go up the inside now into Portier, and he's going to get that position. He's going to move into second place, and he's got his eyes set on the front. There was a bit of a battle there momentarily between TMF Marduk and Alex Gillen. Of course, those two co-op championship, used to always do that together. Now, Ben's replaced him with Tom. He's just overtaken Tom now, being like, you guys can have your championship. I'm going to hunt for the Creator Series championship. He's up in second place and hunting down Elray Guri now.
Indeed he is. Alex Gillen knows what he's got his sights set on, and they are much bigger than a co-op career win. He's on it for the Creator Series victories here this afternoon. Tom and Team and Monaco, of course, still having a fantastic battle. Maraki not far off, but he's having to hold off one of the fastest drivers on the grid at the moment. Noiguera and Razin Chai are chomping out the bit to try and take away any last bit of the Williams dignity round here in Monaco. But back up at the front, Team and Monaco and Tom having a fantastic little scrap up through Beaurivage, through Massenet, and it is the Alpine leading the McLaren as things stand. Alex Gillen is within DRS range of Elray Guri, who leads this race, but look at this. GB68, who started at the back of the grid, has pit multiple times for a various challenge that he might be doing, is still up to P8 now, trying to take the charge right to Razin Chai. He remains penalty free. Noiguera and Razin in front of him both have penalties, and this will be working to his advantage as they run through the tunnel for another time down towards the Nouvelle chicane. Will he try and make a move on Razin? I think he's just a little bit too far back on this occasion, but Matty D still has managed, to get past F1 Damien at long last. Now mounts a challenge onto curbs in the Williams in front of him. Gwatz picks up a 3-second penalty as well for multiple track limits warnings. You can see the penalties starting to stack up on the right-hand side of their driver names. Gwatz on 16 seconds now. He's really got to be careful. We've only just crossed half a race distance, and they will continue to mount up as we continue through this Grand Prix. Noiguera here putting some good pressure on Meraki as they run up the hill. Gwatz and MSkyZ having a good battle, and Gwatz coming out on top at the moment.
MSkyZ, the fall from grace continues. Championship contender for the last 2 seasons, but now getting overtaken by someone making their full-time debut. Gwatz in the McLaren up in a P10. I'm just watching on board now with MSkyZ just to try and see if he's got any damage again, but he didn't have any damage earlier when I suspected it, and I suspect again that he hasn't got any damage once again. It's just a lack of pace from the Kicksauber driver. Really, really struggling in this race. I don't know as well if anyone's told Gwatz that the championship is points scored for positions and not for how many penalties you get. 16 seconds is quite a lot at the moment. He'll be wanting to restrict those if he has any hopes of scoring good points in the future, because the pace is good. P10 at the moment, that's strong, for a first timer, and that's a really good position to be in the fight, in the mid pack, and he's running really well. This scrap though, Tom is defending so hard. He's allowed Alex Gillen and Elray Guri to run off in the distance, and now TMF Marduk will be looking to go on their charge of his co-op rival. TMF Marduk up the inside, is left room on the inside of the corner. Tom still holding it around the outside though, despite having those older hard tyres. TMF Marduk around the outside, up the hill. As we go into Casino, there's still wheel to wheel. Tom with the old tyres, still holding on down into Mirabeau. Can he keep it wheel to wheel? He's going to try, but TMF Marduk squeezes him out on the exit as they go into the hairpin, and rightfully so. On the better tyres, TMF Marduk moves up onto the podium. Tom defending really well in this race, but he's going to be praying that something happens further back to allow him a free pit stop.
Yeah, TMF Marduk's job is not done by any means. Tom is not going to drop off too drastically like he would be, hoping the Alpine will still be putting pressure on the McLaren as they continue through this twisty and turny circuit. Matty D still on the back of curbs here. He's not been able to dispatch the Williams quite yet as they run down towards the Nouvelle chicane. The Haas, I think, just sitting pretty for the time being. He's got 3 seconds more worth of penalties than the Williams in front of him. So even if he gets past curbs at any opportunity, he will, of course, have to make a 3-second dash to remain in that position in about 20 or 30 laps time. This almost was side by side as they ran into the Larascas. It's not an opportunity, it's not a usual place for overtaking, but maybe Matty D was going with the unusual. Further behind him, F1 Damien, F1 Scott having a good battle. The dual F1 drivers now rightly so in this tier. Scott now past Damien as they run into Saint-Devote up to P14. The man who's graduated from Formula 2 up to Formula 1, making a fantastic debut here this afternoon within the points, and I think he'll be happy with that.
Yeah, it's kind of unfolding in front of him. A great qualifying session. He'll be happy about that. It's just loses the rear end, but able to regain control of the car over the bump there. Lost a few positions in the race. We'll be slightly disappointed about that for sure. But, you know, to get points on your debut is still a very, very strong performance. And you can build upon that over the rest of the season. And that's what he needs to look for. He needs to look at this race. Okay, what mistakes did I make? Okay, track limits is something I really need to focus on. Let's maybe run strict corner cutting when I do my own streams and I do my own open lobbies to make sure I stay within the track limits of that track. And I get used to driving within the white line rather than driving on reduced and taking advantage of those track limits when you're racing against your own viewers. He might try to look at that. And that's really what these drivers need to do over the rest of the season. Mareki on the back of Tom at the moment. I'm watching on board with him at home at the moment to try and see when he can get past us. There's so many battles going on up and down the field, right at the back as well. You know, you've got that scrap going on, of course, between Curbs and Matty D. Both controller users, really the battle of the pad users to see who can come out on top and who is the fastest pad user. They've got F1 Scott right on their tail. A mix of penalties. I think if Matty does get past Curbs, he might be able to break away that 3-second gap. And all this is allowing mSkyZ to get a bit of a gap. 7 seconds to him and Curbs at the moment is comfortability, as Maraki's still unable to get past Tom at the moment. And Alex Gillen also as well, unable to get past Elray Guri. But Alex Gillen has been a driver who's always been strong when we've gone to Monaco and he's been racing. I remember a season that I took part here. I think I was in the Ferrari or maybe I was in the Mercedes. Maybe it was the race that I became the chicane when my car stopped out on track for a lot of laps. But it was Alex Gillen and Jorit who were fighting for that race when it was only really those two in contention. It looks like once again it's Alex Gillen, but this time it's Elray Guri who is the other driver who was the only one in potential contention for this race win. But we've already seen how things have changed quickly for some drivers. Could change quickly for these two if something were to happen. A red flag or a safety car could fall into the hands of somebody else. Matty D still stuck behind Curbs at the moment, unable to make his way through as the gaps are starting to build, as the drivers up at the front are starting as well to be a little bit more patient. They're focusing now on the end game. They've got past those drivers in the early stages. Okay, we've worked out these are the cars that I'm playing with now for the rest of the race. Let's take it easy. Let's not make too many of a mistake. Let's try and pick those opportunities when I can.
Yeah, they know the end game they're now wanting to achieve. They can almost smell the checkered flag flying in about 30 laps time. They're just taking a moment to compose themselves, a moment to breathe, and that is exactly what mSkyZ will be doing at the moment. He's clear by 8 seconds behind him, 2.5 seconds up the road will be Gwatz in that Kick Sauber cockpit. He'll just be sat there making sure that he knows what he's got to do over the next 30 laps or so, taking a breather, just making sure he is cool, calm and collected and ready to attack when that opportunity presents itself. I'm reckoning in the next 5 or 6 laps for himself, he'll be able to see the McLaren just up the road. And indeed, Gwatz is trying to battle with Infratic for P9. Of course, the battle for the penalties. This is almost being dubbed 16 and 6 respectively for the two drivers as they run up the hill once again. Up to the front though, speaking of one Ferrari, we go into another. It's Razin Chai on the back of Noigueira, just 10th separating them at the moment. Razin Chai not going for his usual overtake down the inside of the right-hander at Mirabeau there. He didn't quite fancy it this time around, but he is just sat on the gearbox of the Mercedes in front of him, biding his time. And this will be a very patient attack from Razin Chai. He's in a good position, he knows when to attack. And now it's just a case of counting down the laps until that attack is formed.
And this is, of course, for position between these two because they both have a 3-second time penalty. So it is important for Razin. For GB, doesn't need to care. If he stays behind Razin and Nogueira this closely, he's going to get P6 as it stands in this race. But for the likes of Razin, needs to jump Nogueira to get that extra position. I've been really impressed with Gwatz so far on his debut. Qualifying, not as strong as maybe we saw from F1 Scott. But being up there fighting, you know, in the top 10, overtaking mSkyZ, who has been fighting for championships so many seasons, to be able to overtake him in this race and gap him as well. Now on the back of Infratic. Infratic is a driver who's done, I think he's second in the most races of Creator Series, first being Zafso, who we unfortunately lost very early on lap 4 of this race. But Gwatz has had a very good performance. Razin Chai now having a look around the outside Nogueira, but unable to find a way through. Difficult to overtake around the outside there because the driver in front, you know, controls the line and they get the better exit out of Mirabeau and can just kind of close that door where the wall pokes out a little bit as you go down into the hairpin. It's up to the driver in front to leave room, and if they don't want to do so, you've got to back out.
Yeah, he tried the old switcheroo. The inside wasn't working for him last couple of times, so he decided to go around the outside this time. Equally didn't work, but he has got the attention of Nogueira. He'll be looking in his mirrors every single corner, knowing that Ferrari will try to send it in the most unusual applications, the most unusual spots on this track. Razin Chai is no stranger to sending one down the inside, even here at La Rascasse, round through Anthony Nose now with the DRS available to all of our drivers in this train. GB just has to sit behind and wait on board with Meraki, now trying to mount a charge on Tom as they head down towards turn number 1, lap number 50 here in round 1, season 7 of the Creator Series. Up the hill they run, no change at the moment. Tom on those older tyres doing the front 3 some justice, holding the rest of this pack back so the front 3 can continue to try and fight amongst themselves.
He's also picked up a 3-second time penalty. Razin a little bit too desperate up the inside on Nogueira, as Nogueira was having a look and they were all piling up. He's actually held up his own teammate who's reset to track. Infratic will pick up a penalty for that. No reset to tracks are allowed in the Creator Series because ghosting isn't always as consistent, and potentially what could have happened is he could have, you know, come around that corner, reset to track, and we've got a virtual safety car out of track. Reset to track, a car could have come around the corner, he'd not been ghosted, driven into the back of him, and they both could have been out. That is why reset to tracks are banned. Infratic will have I believe a 30-second penalty, I believe it is, coming to his name. I will check that and make sure I've got that correct in a moment. But unfortunately for Razin, yeah, it just looked like he was trying to go for that move on Nogueira as Tom gets a drive-through penalty for speeding under virtual safety car, and he's going to be very, very annoyed with that.
Yeah, in early to serve it, I think, or either that or he's lost out a couple of positions early on. I think he's just been jumped by a few drivers.
He's into the box.
Definitely into the box. Up at the front, though, I think that was Alex Gillen and Gurian was going side by side as they crested the hill here. Tom now dropping considerably down the point, serving that drive through early. But Alex Gillen, no love lost here. He's not waiting for this opportunity any longer. He's going to put pressure on Gurian up ahead. They've got traffic as they head through Mirabeau Bass round the right-hander of Portier. Guri will start to try and plan to how to attack the traffic, the lapped cars that stand in front of him, and that is what's going to be going through his mind right now. Gillen might be able to make that to his advantage, use one of the lapped cars almost as a bit of fodder to make a move, make Guri put 1 foot wrong in that track. Timo Mark as well, right on the back of the front too now. He was previously a couple of seconds off. That virtual safety car really helping out the McLaren driver.
Infratic there will be picking up a 15-second time penalty, as if he was not stuck. The only reason you are allowed to reset to track is if your car is beached. If it wasn't beached, it's going to be 15 seconds added to his name. I'll have a look on Razin's stream and see exactly what went wrong, but I believe, yeah, he was just having a look on Nogueira, as Nogueira was having a look on Meraki, and they all just kind of came together and unfortunately got sent round. Up at the front, though, it's not really affected the front two. You've got Alex Gillen still hunting down Guri, but Timo Marduk has caught up to the front three. It's a three-way fight here in Monaco. Who is going to come out on top? There's a yellow in Sector 3. I believe that's F1 Scott, and it's another virtual safety car in this race. What has happened to F1 Scott?
Well, he's missing a front right end plate there as you see him head round Saint Devot. I wonder if he's just ended up in a wall, maybe a little bit trigger or pedal happy out of La Rascasse, and Anthony knows, and he will have to box for a new front wing. That Kick Sauber seeming to go through front wings quite considerably. Both drivers, MSkyZ and Scott at the moment. And, oh no, in front of him, the Mercedes. Who was that with no front wing whatsoever? F1 Damien 14 has no front wing. VSC has been removed, and we go racing again. Damien, surely going to be a bit of a roadblock here.
Was that under virtual safety car that he did it, or maybe he came together with F1 Scott? I'm going to shoot off to F1 Scott's stream and have a look and see what happened between those two. But I can confirm that Infratic did reset to track. His car wasn't beached. He was just blocked by Razin, so he will pick up a 15-second time penalty on top of the 16 seconds that he's already got, which means, unfortunately for Infratic, his race is pretty much done. As it stands, it's going to drop him outside the points. As the team orders at Ferrari, Razin, no, he's not. He did get past momentarily, but Infratic back in front. And no, there's no team orders. They're going to actually scrap it out on the top of the hill, as Razin still behind Infratic at the moment. I mean, if they were going to work together as a team at this stage, Razin would slow down back up the pack and try and give Infratic about 30 seconds distance so they can still hold on to P9 if they want to score good points. Otherwise, it's up to Razin to go catch up and go on the attack.
Yeah, I don't quite know what's going on with team orders at Ferrari at the moment. Razin almost wanted to send it down the inside of Mirabeau once again. His unique overtaking spot that he's used so many times this race at the moment. But Infratic closed the door once again. Those 16 seconds of penalties are really not in the driver's mind at the moment, but they will be come at the end of the race. 25 laps of racing remaining around this circuit, and it is still the two Ferraris not choosing to work together, but Infratic going ahead and trying to put pressure on MSkyZ, who remains penalty free as we round to start lap 54 of 78. Infratic, I don't quite know what's going through his head, but maybe trying to clear a path for his teammate further back.
Yeah, wants that position on MSkyZ first before they sort out the team orders. So he wants to go on the attack, and I think he's got the pace. MSkyZ has been struggling today. What happened at F1 Scott? Came out the final corner, lost the rear end, went into the wall, and unfortunately for F1 Damien, just kind of had nowhere to go as Scott was sideways across the track, came into the side of him, broke his front wing, and that is what brought out the second virtual safety car. Unfortunate for both of those two. F1 Damien was doing such a good job defending earlier on in this race, now down in 15th position. F1 Scott down in 16th, both of them into the pits, new front wings, and we'll be looking to see what they can do. That has allowed Mr. Dale to move himself back into the points positions, into P14, and it is now Perya on the back of F1 Scott and F1 Damien. So maybe Perya can score a point as well, despite the disaster he's had in this race and the collision he had earlier on with his own teammate. The Ferraris, though, no real progress made at the moment on MSkyZ, and I believe Razin might be holding, yes, he's holding quite a bit of front wing damage on that left-hand side. That end plate is completely missing, and that is really going to be costing him around this track. But it looks like he's still got enough pace to be faster than his teammate.
Yeah, I think that was damage caused by his own teammate. Infratic got that 10-second penalty for a severe collision with Razin when he was spun round. So, of course, that damage coming from within the team itself. Back up the front of the race, though, El Guri still continues to lead and command here in Monaco. Alex Gillen just chomping at the bit, and Meraki has managed to clear some of the drivers further back. Of course, Tom, with that drive-through, has released so many of those drivers to try and challenge and attack for the lead of this race. Meraki, Tim and Marduk, even Noiguera not far off the front of the battle now. It's pretty much a 5-way battle for the lead of this race with just over 20 laps of racing to go. I wonder how long El Guri can hold on to the lead of this race for, as we see there Tom going into the tunnel, followed swiftly by Razin Chai, who's had a little bit of a spin, dropped down a couple of positions.
Yeah, Razin Chai made a mistake there. I will go find out what's happened to him, but don't also count out GB68. Of course, trying that challenge earlier on in the race, now sits in P6, and we'll be looking to try and go to the end. We've got Mr. Dale having a look on curbs, unable to find his way through, but is looking very, very strong. Looks like he's got back into the rhythm. As I said earlier, I think Mr. Dale and Infratic, mentally, they're probably one of the weakest drivers on the grid. As soon as one mistake sort of happens, they very much sit back and it's like, okay, race done, what the hell, why am I here? But for Dale, he focused a lot on that in F2 and showed that strength and was able to win the championship there. Has had a little bit of a few mistakes here. Razin Shite into the box. That's going to drop him down a position. But Mr. Dale now moves up into P12. Seems to have got himself back into that rhythm. Has got a 3-second time penalty on over his head at the moment. But drivers ahead of him have got more. Infratic has over 30 seconds. G-Watts in 7th, or Guats in 7th, is on 16 seconds as well. Dale could score some good points here. Just needs to keep his head and really push forward. Up at the front, Alex Gill and El Guri. El Guri should be going to the end on these hard tyres. He was very lucky that the safety car came out 4 laps after he made his pit stop. A lot later than that, and he would be struggling on these tyres, but the tyre deficit, there's not too much between these two drivers at this stage of the race. So El Guri will be continuing to try and defend from Alex Gillen.
Yeah, it's worked almost perfectly in the Aston Martin's favour. Alex Gillen has shown that he's perfectly content in sitting just behind in P2. We've seen it here. We've seen it in previous races in the Create Series. Quite notably, Silverstone last season when he sat behind not only Tia McBardick, but a consolidation of multiple other drivers. Just sat in P2, waited for his opportunity. Unfortunately, it never came at the end. And Infratic and Tom there having a great battle for P9 and P10. Tom just has to hold off for the time being. The Ferrari just holding the middle of the track, being a little bit of a roadblock for the Alpine, trying to progress through on those harder tyres. I believe he still hasn't changed them. Maybe looking for a move down the inside, Razin Chai-esque, but not this time. He'll just have to sit behind Infratic. is nearly 4 seconds off MSkyZ up the road, but with those penalties to boot, he won't be wide. They're going to go side by side through Mirabeau, Bath, through Portier. They're still wheel to wheel. A little bit of a kick out for Infratic there allows Tom up to P9 into the tunnel. He'll have the advantage down towards the chicane, and surely he can now start to dispatch the Ferrari driver behind him.
That was an amazing overtake from Tom. The switchback in towards the hairpin, round the outside, down the hill for Mirabeau 2, and then in towards Portier, and then a great exit off Portier, whereas Infratic just struggled a little bit. I was wondering what the game plan was there from Infratic. He doesn't want to fight drivers. He needs to just have his own race and try and build up as much of a gap as he possibly can with all those penalties. So he needs to try and keep it clean. Faraz Shai was following his teammate into the hairpin, lost the rear end, just a little bit too much throttle down there, lost the rear, and unfortunately broke his front wing as Dale now overtakes Matty D. Matty not fighting that too much, has 9 seconds of penalties compared to Dale's 3. So there's no point fighting that. And Dale now up into the top 10. So what looked like misery earlier on in this race has now switched to a top 10 finish. How quickly can this race change? He needs to keep on pushing though, because of course 16-second penalties for Guatz further up the road. He can definitely gain on him in this race, of course, as Infratic now also coming into the pits. Serves his 10-second time penalty, only has 6 seconds out on track from the game, but will also have 15 seconds for the reset to track.
Yeah, very sensible there from Infratic. He's gone into a bit of clean air here. He's dropped back behind his teammate Razin by about 8 seconds. He can potentially start to focus on a fastest lap attempt. That will give him an extra bonus point, of course, going into the exit of this race. But as they continue on board at the front of this pack, Alex Gillen continues to sit behind El Rey Guri at the lead of this race. He's looking left and right, making sure that the Spaniard knows he's in his mirrors as they continue through every single twist and turn this Monaco circuit has to hold. But Gillen is content, just sat behind at the moment, charging that battery up to its pure capacity. Tim Marduk is making moves further back as well. Look at that, you can see Alex Gillen on about 70% of his battery. He'll be able to dump that later on in the race when he tries to mount a charge to take over control of the lead of this race. Tim Marduk, of course, within a second gap. Don't count out though, as we've previously mentioned, Meraki, Noiguera and GB68 all starting to get involved ever so slightly. It looks like he's going to be side by side for Gillen. He thought about it into the left-hander of Tabak, but just backed out quite sensibly and went back into recharge mode, sitting behind the Spaniard for the numerous amount of times this afternoon. Tim Marduk within 0.7 of a second now. That DRS will get ever stronger as he pulls Meraki into the bit as well.
Wise decision there from Alex Gillen to back out, going down into the back. We know the racing from El Rey Guri. He leaves nothing on the track. You want to go side by side, make sure you're ahead, otherwise I will close that door. And Alex Gillen knows that. Smart driver is Alex Gillen. He's sitting behind El Rey Guri right now. He's assessing this whole time. Okay, where's he making mistakes? Where's he fastest? Where's he slowest? He thought he was slowest there into Mirabeau. He went for it. I just said he was a smart driver. That was a stupid mistake from Alex Gillen to send it up the inside and stick your nose in. You were never going to pull that off. And that's now put Tiamat Marduk on the hunt for El Rey Guri. No safety cars needed. Doesn't look like any damage for any other drivers. I'm not too sure if Tiamat Marduk had a collision with Alex Gillen through that corner. Might have just got away with that, but for Alex Gillen, that's a huge blunder and is going to take him out of contention for this race win.
They say Monaco is quite often a battle of mental strength than physical strength, and we've seen it here this time around with Alex Gillen, who made a poor decision down towards Mirabeau. He went for a dive down the inside. Not quite sure he 100% thought about it, but I think by the time he wanted to back out, he was already too committed. He made contact with the Aston Martin in front of him, Tiamat Marduk and Meraki were barely able to avoid the spinning Haas in front of them. Meraki, I think, ever so slightly locking up as he tried to move to the left-hand side, but Alex Gillen fortunate to get away with no damage here this afternoon. He's 1.8 seconds off the back of these two drivers. Tiamat Marduk now will try and mount a charge for El Rey Guri, but El Rey Guri now has a comfortable cushion of time, 2.3 seconds in the lead of this race with 17 laps to go.
Yeah, no damage for Tiamat Marduk. He just managed to avoid Alex Gillen's slight contact with the front right to Alex Gillen's rear wing, but no damage on the McLaren cars. So his front wing is clean, and now he can potentially go on the hunt for El Rey Guri. But he's also got to look at his mirrors, because Meraki is on the charge in that Williams. On the hard tyres as well. We'll be looking to hunt him down. I believe teammate Marduk is on medium. So whilst he had good pace earlier on, that could be falling away from him, and those hards could be a lot better at this stage of the race. Further down the field, Tom has been still on those hard tyres since the very early stages of this race, but is now on the back of Skyzy. He was asking his chat, do I box? You know, look at those tyres. 52 laps old are those hard tyres. It would be a good question to ask, but he has the pace still. He's quicker than Skyzy. He can get on the back of the penalties of Gwatz and look at a P7 finish in this race without boxing. It all depends on what those tyres are saying in terms of percentage, because when you get to that 75% mark, punctures will start to creep in. I'm watching on board with Tom at the moment. I'll let us know if he is getting towards that scary 75% marker on the tyres.
It's definitely questionable. Of course, a new game brings new tyre mechanics as well. The tyres wear ever so slightly unevenly, depending on the circuit in which you're driving. You can see him trying to attack Skyzy there as they headed through the hairpin. Will he try his old switchback that we saw just a couple of laps ago, but not this time around? He will quite happily sit on the back of Skyzy there, on board or watching along with Matty D here. He's on the back of Razin Shai, who's just managed to pip out the hash driver for P11. Of course, Matty, with 9 seconds of penalties, is racing his own race at the moment. I'm not quite sure what's happened to Fratic. He's dropped down a couple of positions. He was, at one point, on the back of his teammate, now down in P14.
Yeah, I believe Razin's just cutting his way through the field between Curbs, Matty D, and is now going to be on the hunt of Mr. Dale. Both those drivers, of course, boxing earlier on in this race. Tom's still on the back of Skyzy, unable to make a way through at the moment. A lot of his chat saying at the moment to box to softs. He's got the softs ready. He's got a new set of soft tyres ready for if he decides to make a pit stop. It all depends on that tyre wear. Is he running the risk of a puncture? If he is, he's going to need to make that pit stop. But where will that bring him out? It could potentially put him down to where Infratic is, in between Curbs, and Infratic maybe ahead of Curbs in this race. So it is going to be a big hit. But they have those soft tyres go on the attack, overtake Matty, overtake maybe Mr. Dale. Skyzy, once again, have better tyres, so it go on the attack of Skyzy, of course. And then, of course, catch up to G Watts' penalties. Mr. Dale, though, still running good. 10 seconds now behind Tom at this stage of the race. 1 second then behind Skyzy. Skyzy to Gwatz. So that is within the 6 seconds. Of course, he has 3 seconds as well, so needs to be within 13 seconds of Gwatz. At this stage, I believe he's just on the bubble to gain that position. So could be looking at a P9 in this race. Tom still not looking like boxing. Up at the front, though, Alex Gillen on the back of Meraki and Tiamat Marduk. But what could have been for Alex Gillen? He could have been fighting, of course, for that race win.
Yeah, the story that was never written this time around, at least not completed quite yet. Alex Gillen on the back of Meraki and Tiamat Marduk, but still El Guri has that 2-second advantage out in the lead of this race. GB68 still performing miracles, pulling his way through the grid at the moment. He's on the back of Noiguera, who has those 3-second penalties to hand. So essentially, P5 is his at the moment. That will promote him up to some good points from starting at the back. But as we watch on board, as with our top main 3 drivers heading down towards the Novel chicane, Tiamat Marduk, Meraki, and Alex Gillen following along, nose to gearbox, each of single car. Guri just in the distance, but that time gap is coming down. It was 2 seconds at the start of this lap, now amongst the 1.9s, 1.8s, and even 1.7s at moments across this map. They are slowly reeling in the Aston Martin that stands in front of them and potentially reeling in their own opportunity to get involved on the podium. Not even the top spot we see there. I think that's F1 Scott just letting the lapped cars by. Fantastic sportsmanship from the new driver.
Yeah, of course, blue flags mean get out of the way, as I found out last season when I was trying to, you know, ruffle a few feathers out on track. I was letting them through. Just I used my free allocated blue flag windows, blue flags or corners to let them through. And then Infratic decided to do that and take one stage, but he got penalised in the race for it. So, you know, if the game's going to penalise you for it, then it's the same as what Kevin Magnussen does in real life. You overtake off the track and you go to hold up a driver. You get penalised for it, and you're doing justice for your teammate. No team tactics for anybody so far in this race, as Infratic on the back of Curves. We're looking to move past, but of course, 6 seconds for both of them. Infratic does move up into 13th, but remember, does have 15 seconds added on to that time as well. Tom still on the back of MSkyZ, still not making a pit stop for a set of soft tyres. El Guri, though, at this stage of the race, just managing very comfortably, nice and calm at this stage of the race at the moment, as Alex Gillen still trying to make some inroads on Meraki and Team Marduk. Will be really frustrated because he was ahead of these guys. He didn't have to worry about trying to get past them. He just had to worry about trying to get past El Guri and trying to make him make a mistake. Now there's nobody to put Guri under any pressure and nobody to potentially take away that race win from the Aston Martin drivers. Team Marduk ducking left, ducking right to avoid the little bump out of the casino section. Alex Gillen has a look, but backs out of it this time. Gets his rear wing right up the back of, gets his front wing right at the back of the rear wing of Meraki. Interesting to see what GB68 does, whether he decides to maybe go for an overtake in this race or just sits in P6 and goes, okay, cool, well, I've got P5 anyway. I'm fine with this. If anything happens up front, I can maybe gain some positions.
Yeah, the question he's got to be asking himself is, can he make up those 4 and a bit seconds in the laps that we have remaining? And of course, they dwindle with every single passing cross of that start-finish line. Back up the front, Team Marduk, Meraki and Alex Gillen just holding on. They have to work together as a pack, not try and battle each other, because the gap between themselves and Araguri opening up once again. It's over that 2-second threshold. Team Marduk, I think, would be somewhat better letting Meraki and Alex Gillen go, working as a mini peloton to try and pull each other along. But it's not going to happen this time around. They know how hard overtaking is on this Monaco track. If they give themselves any freebies, they might not get it back later on in the race. And we know how the tension has been between Team Marduk and Alex Gillen in the previous seasons. The McLaren will do anything to stop that Haas getting past as we run through the Monaco circuit. Down the inside goes Gillen and Meraki into the hairpin. There was just enough room left, but Gillen is getting desperate here.
Yeah, we saw it creep in with El Guri. Will we see it now with Meraki? Desperation leads to mistakes. And we saw that earlier on from Gillen. It cost him second for this Monaco Grand Prix. El Guri still sitting comfortable. 1.5 second lead over the field. Tom further back, still right up the gearbox of MSkyZ. An overtake update. Razan Shai has overtaken Mr. Dale, has moved up into 10th. And is now on the hunt of Tom, who is having a look in towards the Novel chicane. But again, SkyZ's just able to defend. Tom, the concentration is huge from him at the moment. I can imagine his mouth is wide open as he is catching flies, concentrating, trying to get this P8 off of MSkyZ. But of course, then he needs to build a gap on top of that. And within that 3-second gap is Gwat. So we need to get past SkyZ, get past Gwat, and then build a 3-second gap over the Kick Sauber car. Alex Gillen still all over the back of Meraki. And another 3-second time penalty for Tom through the first corner. And that's making it even more difficult for him because he's got to like Razin and Mr. Dale hunting him down as well.
Yeah, it was now or never. In the remaining laps, he had to try and get past that Kick Sauber car that he found in front of him for the last few laps. He knew he had to get past and then build that gap down the inside once again. Goes Gillen and Meraki, but this time he makes it stick as they head into the Novel chicane for lap 68. 10 laps of racing remaining. It is the Haas that is up to P3, and in front of him, his old nemesis, Ben Daly, Tia McMurdoch in the P2, and these two have a long history of fighting and fighting hard. And round these streets of Monaco, any little mistake will end in devastation. We watch eagerly now as the laps continue to count down. Alex Gillen trying to mount a charge on Tia McMurdoch in front of him. Meraki surely will just sit behind and wait for chaos to ensue here.
That was a super move from Alex Gillen into the Novel chicane, dived it up the inside. Takes 2 to get through that corner. Well played from Meraki to try not to, stick his nose in there and cause a collision between the two of them. Very great driving between those two. Of course, champions of the Creator Series. Got 3 champions within the top 4. Someone who's not a champion is El Guri. Could potentially mount a charge, though, for the Season 7 championship. 13 races in this season, of course. El Guri, though, 3-second lead now over Team Marduk. How many times do we see these two go together? How many times does it come off badly? Will there be a stone unturned between Team Marduk and Alex Gillen? We'll have to wait and see, as they're going to be very, very aggressive with each other. The rivalry is just more intense between these two. They race other drivers differently, but with each other, they always race hard. As Razan Shai now overtakes Tom, gets a very easy overtake on him, but of course is on a newer set of tyres and will now set his sights on MSkyZ. Will then look towards a G-Watts or Gwat and then maybe even potentially going to be able to get within the gap of GB68 and Nogueira, as Thomas picks up another 3-second time penalties, picked up 3 warnings in the space of about a lap and a half there. So I'm not too sure what's going on with Tom at the moment. Maybe it's just the tyre wear fading him at the moment, really struggling to keep control of the car with that mental endurance. As Alex Gillen goes right around the outside into Mirabeau. Tiamat Marduk not leaving any space there for the Haas driver.
Yeah, he slammed the door firmly around the outside. Alex Gillen was trying everything he could to try and make a move, but the McLaren, the Papyron black car, said absolutely not. You're not coming around my outside this time around. And he continues to hold the middle of the track as they run down towards the Novel chicane. Alex Gillen, who went down the inside this time last lap, he goes down the outside this time around, and I think he's going to get the move done. He is. There's contact between him and Tiamat Marduk. We saw it coming, but there was history between the two of them, and this surely allows Gillen up to P2. Meraki will hold on to P3, but it's all love lost for Tiamat Marduk, who's down at P6, and a spin for Razin Chai as well.
It's all kicking off in the final few laps, and the culprit of the second one was Tom. It wasn't a spin from Razin. Razin was right at the back of MSkyZ, and Tom just tagged the rear of Razin Chai, spun him around, but was respectful and let him hold the position and stay in P9. Not too much harm done for Razin Chai. He'll catch back up to MSkyZ, and it'll be a little bit unfortunate, but he wasn't able to overtake MSkyZ there anyway. But up at the front, it was going to happen, wasn't it? Tiamat Marduk, Alex Gillen going side by side. How many times have we seen that between those two? Look at GB, looking at potential P4 now in this race after that collision, and who knows what could happen further up through the field. It lost a little bit of time there for Meraki in this race to have to back off the way and, you know, avoid Tiamat Marduk's car. That's allowed a gap to form between those two. Can Alex Gillen now catch up to El Rey Guri and fight potentially for the race winners? They're now catching up. El Rey Guri's catching up actually to the battle. There's Tom, Razin Chai, and MSkyZ as blue flags are. Maybe he was just overtaking blue flags. I'm not too sure there. As you're watching, GB68 still tucked up right behind Nogueira, but there's no need for him to overtake because he's got that penalty. And Gwatz
what's happened to Gwatz?
Retired for the race as a virtual safety car. Will this turn to a full safety car? Tom's out of the race as well. He's just broke his front left going down towards the left-hander, and it's still a virtual safety car.
Surely we'll see a full here.
Huge, right there at the end.
There we go.
Wow.
Oh, we got a red flag. I'm sure that's what it is.
We've got a red flag, and it's going to be a last dash shootout.
Wow.
Of this race, surely.
Well, we said safety cars lead to safety cars. Not only that time, it went to a VSC. We went to a full safety car, and now we have a red flag situation on our hands here in Monaco. Gwatz ended his race prematurely, as did Tom, rather easily down towards the Novel chicane, and then that red flag began to fly. Our drivers will reset on the start-finish line. Of course, getting a free choice of tyres. This surely really hurts El Rey Guri, who had such a commanding lead throughout the entirety of this race.
Yeah, but he'll be happy to know that everybody's got soft tyres till the end, and it's all going to be about who saves softs for the race. I believe Meraki was, and he could have a great opportunity to fight for this race win. I'm yet to find out what's happened to Gwatz in this race. I'll find out momentarily what has happened to him. But for Tom, he just crashed on the inside in the Novel chicane. Over to you.
Here we go then, race start from the red flag situation. The lights go out and we go racing once again at Monaco. El Rey Guri gets a fantastic pull away down towards turn number 1. Alex Gillen chomping at the bit, as is Meraki, up, staying clear of Nogueira. Up the hill they run further at the back. Mr. Dale has got caught in an instant. He's gone round, but at the front of the pack, El Rey Guri under immediate pressure from Alex Gillen here. Everyone back on the soft tyres. They run down towards Mirabeau, down towards the hairpin on the left, and it's still the Aston Martin that has so much speed through these monogas corners. The McLaren of Tiamat Marduk trying to catch up with GB68 there as well. They continue in single file, nobody daring to try and make a move. 4.5 laps left of racing remaining here in Monaco. Can El Rey Guri hold on as they run down towards the Novel chicane for one of the final few times in this race? Alex Gillen has been gifted a fantastic possibility of getting his first ever race win here in Monaco. Down towards the final few corners, through the swimming pool they go, and it's still the Haas chasing through the Aston Martin, but it all went wrong for Mr. Dale at the start. He was caught up in an instant at the back, and that Red Bull really not too happy.
He's going to be really, really annoyed with this race. Bringing back in, though, those drivers who are a lap down, F1 Scott has got a great opportunity to now score some good points. Of course, F1 Damien as well, and of course Perya too in this race. But it's all working out well for El Rey Guri. He's still at the front. Alex Gillen's still in second, but now we're going to have a fight till the end of this race. Infratic now right up in there, P8 in this race. Of course, everybody, as long as they finish this race, will score points.
Yeah, this is really hampered Infratic, of course, because with that 15 seconds of penalties, they were so spread out just a few laps ago. Then that red flag came, and they'll now surely all finish within that 15 seconds that Infratic will have to serve post-race for that reset to track. But we're looking up at the front. It's still El Rey Guri, who had a fantastic pull away on the restart sequence. Alex Gillen is trying to hold on. Meraki not far up, but Noiguera gets himself another 3-second penalty. That brings him up to 6. This surely secures the GB68 P4 finish that we saw coming before the red flag flow. Mr. Dale making moves left, right and centre. He's up to P13 after that initial spin at turn number 1. So the Rebel starting to make some good moves. He's got back in his own mind, and that is fantastic stuff to see. Alex Gillen sets the fastest lap of the race as well. A 1:08.7 for the Haas driver. Now El Rey Guri knows he is coming, and he's coming fast. But Perja at the back, pressuring the other Haas driver of Matty D, Razin Chai there. You can see him being chased by his teammate. About 2.5 seconds separate them. Tim McMurdoch can see Scarlet all across his mirrors as they run down towards Mirabeau, watching a ball with Perja. He's still challenging Matty D. They're running down towards Mirabeau and the hairpin as well. Just looks for a move down the inside, decides against it quite rightly, considering how many laps of racing we have remaining here. Just 2 when we cross the finish line.
He needs to be careful here because he can pick up a lot of positions. Curbs, Matty D both have 9 seconds. Infratic has 6 seconds plus 15 from the reset to track. Razin is 3. I think he'll be a little bit too far back to gain on that one, but can be certainly looking for a potential P9 in this race. M-Sky-Z will jump up above both Infratic and Razin Shai, although Razin Shai starting to build a bit of a gap from him at the moment. Nogueira now 6 seconds of time penalties. Razin could potentially gain a place in this race. It's not over yet. Still got 2 laps left to go. El Rey Guri leads the way. Half a second over Alex Gillen. And I'm going to find out what happened to Guats whilst you take over.
Yeah, Noiguera, I believe, having a little bit into the pits there, or having a spin around at turn 1. It's all gone wrong for the Mercedes driver. He had 6 seconds of penalties. P4 was never going to be his, but it looks like he's held up Mr. Dale ever so slightly on that restart as well. And Dale came through turn 1. Wasn't expecting a slow-moving Mercedes, just sat in the middle of the track. And now, actually, he loses out to F1 Scott. Down for P13, further back as well. Berger still looking to make moves on Matty D for P10. Those two going nose to tail through the hairpin section. It's V-Carb versus Haas driver as they run down towards the tunnel for the penultimate time. But back up at the front, Alex Gillen still within half a second of our race leader, El Rey Guri. The gap before the red flag stood at 3.5 seconds. It's now under half a second between the two of them. Timo Marduk not far off GB68 as well. The gap between Meraki and GB out of DRS range, of course. That now is down to 1 lap of racing before that gets activated. Tim McMurdoch will have that advantage as we start the final lap of racing here in Monaco. It's still El Rey Guri that leads the race. Alex Gillen will be dumping all of his battery surely as they run up the top of the hill, round Beaurivard, through Massenet, the left-hander, and then down through Casino, down towards Mirabeau. It's now or never, do or die for the Haas driver of Alex Gillen. Further back, Tim McMurdoch still trying to make a move on GB68. He'll race him fair, though, as they continue to break through. They know it's crucial points for the two of them. Alex Gillen practically pushing the Aston Martin of El Rey Guri through these final few corners as they head into the tunnel for the final time. It's Alex Gillen now 3/10 off the rear of this Aston Martin car. An opportunity maybe down into the Novel chicane, but he's just too far back this time around. Surely it's El Rey Guri's party this time around. He's never won in Monaco before here in the Creator Series. He DNF'd last time out in Season 5 as they make their way through the swimming pool section. The final few corners, the crowd starts to rise for their Aston Martin driver through Anthony Knowles for one final time through safety cars, VSCs and red flag shenanigans. It will be El Rey Guri who claims his first win in Monaco in the Creator Series. Alex Gillen second, Meraki rounds out your podium, and then Tia McMurdoch just holds on to P4.
That was a great photo finish at the end between 4th, 5th and 6th. Razin Shai with the penalty, just missing out anyway as they come across the line. Perya will bump up to P9 and Fratic will be 8th on the road, but will drop down positions due to the extra 15 seconds added onto him. But El Rey Guri, take a bow. What a drive. He led from the start. He got the overtake done very early on and has just been formidable through the race, despite the pressures, despite the lunge from Alex Gillen, the pressure of drivers right behind you, the restarts, and then the red flags, and having to go again, build a gap once more. But nonetheless, El Rey Guri is a race winner in Monaco and will join that exclusive club that only has Razin Shai and, of course, Jorrit van Geffen in there as well. But El Rey Guri, with that, will lead this championship. Alex Gillen behind will be on 20 points with the added point from Intermediates Championship. Not too sure who got the fastest lap. We will work that out later on. But for now, El Rey Guri is our championship leader and our race winner.
Yeah, race win number 3 for El Rey Guri this afternoon out of 26 races. It's another podium to add to Meraki's collection. Podium number 27 for himself. And Alex Gillen makes it 23 podiums for himself as well. So massive amount of numbers coming in. Some favourites as well, scoring some good points. Let us know in the chat who you thought was going to win. Did they win? Did you get your predictions right, of course? And you can join us on social media using all of the hashtag F1 Creator Series hashtags. And we do have a quick look at everything that gets posted. But Hayden, what a fantastic race that has been. You never knew which way it was going.
That was incredible. Like, one of the best Monaco races I think I have ever witnessed. There was battles going on up at the front of the field, at the back of the field, in the middle. It changed. If you had a scale of percentage of which drivers who had the best chance of winning, that scale would have changed up and down throughout the whole race. It was incredible to see. And right at the end, the red flag being brought out to even up the field. Everybody's on soft tyres. Last little dash, shootout, go and try and get that race win. What was that brought out for? Gwatz hit the Novel chicane inside corner, broke off his front left tyre, brought out the virtual safety car, and who did exactly the same thing? Tom, a couple of moments ago, later, hit the same corner, broke his front left, was out. That brought out the red flag. And we kind of missed it as well. Nogueira at the end of the race was up near the front, was blocking GB for a while. He just missed his braking point down into turn 1, the start of lap 77, extended the corner, went down into the runoff zone, and dropped down to the back of the field, unfortunately. So Nogueira, again, showing he has incredible one-lap pace, but over race distance, those small little errors start to creep in, and he's going to really need to sort of iron those out to really have a good chance of getting, of course, race wins and maybe even fighting for the championship.
Of course, it's still a long season ahead as well. Lots of races to contend with, 11 more rounds, and of course some sprints thrown in there for good measure as well. A lot of penalties coming some drivers' way by the sounds of it. More drivers resetting to track than Justin Fratic that we call by the sounds of things. But nonetheless, who said Monaco was boring? Because it is never boring in esports. There was moves left, right and centre. Some audacious sends from the likes of Razin Shai that worked, like from Alex Gillen that didn't quite work out for him this time around. But nonetheless, such an entertaining 78 laps of Monaco.
Yeah, some great racing out there from the drivers, and they can all, be really proud of themselves if they got to the end, because it is such a difficult challenge driving around Monaco. It's 78 laps. It's threading the needle through the barriers. It's so easy to make a mistake, as we saw from the likes of Tom, as we saw from Zafso, both Alpines making the same error. Gwatz as well, just clipping that inside barrier. It's so easy to do because you've got to get as close as possible to it to maximize the speed through the corner. If you're leaving those margins, you're losing lap time, and that's going to really compromise you in the race. And of course, you can be consistent and you can stay away from the barriers and stay away from the track limits, but you're not going to be fighting at the front. You're going to be fighting for potentially, at best, in a race like this, a P8, which for those guys at the back of the field is going to be a really, really strong result for them. I'm looking at the likes of Matty D, finishing in some good points positions. Dale will be disappointed with that one. I think he certainly would have been hoping for better in that race, but would have picked up maybe some points with the penalties as well. But yeah, a good start to the season. Monaco certainly delivered. F1 24 has been good fun for us so far in the Creator Series, and let's see what Canada has for us.
Exactly. We move on to Canada next week, of course. Lots, well, equal carnage there next week. It's almost Monaco, just a little bit more run-off zone for some of our drivers. Something we missed whilst all the racing was going on. This was almost an hour and a half ago, but Matt Zuvo gifted 5 subs to the community. Absolutely fantastic, gifting 41 in total. So massive massive shout out to you for all of the gifted subs there. Massively appreciated. Let's get some people in for interview, shall we? I think we've got Razin sat ready and waiting. See if we can pull him in for just a quick chat how his race went. There we go. People are coming in for chats. No worries. Welcome in, Razin. First of all, how did the race go from your perspective?
Yeah, I mean, it was a great race. Can't really complain. Obviously, I started last on the back alongside GB. Skipped qualifying today, and yeah, no, made some good overtakes throughout the race. I was really happy with it. Obviously, I made a few mistakes. Unfortunately, I went for a move on Nagara into before the hairpin, and the door got closed last second. So unfortunately, I was the wrong way around going to the hairpin. So luckily, didn't DNF. But good comeback regardless. Red flag at the end definitely helped. So yeah, I'll take a P6, P19 to P6. Can't really complain. Enjoyed it.
Yeah, there was a couple of optimistic moves down the inside, of course. Contact between yourself and your teammate Infratic, and then not quite the team game being played between yourselves later on. Any word on that or the team dynamic?
Yeah, I mean, I think Fabio was a bit upset by when I spun, he made minor contact with me in the game, gave him 10-second penalty. So he didn't really want to let me pass after that, and then unfortunately that cost me a lot of time, and I ended up losing my wing. And yeah, it could have been a different race when, regardless, the 3-second penalty was my fault. So if we didn't have a penalty at the end, I mean, what was going on with Ben and GB in the last corner, definitely could have claimed P4 there. But I knew I had a penalty, so I stayed out of it on purpose. I didn't want to risk DNFing one of them while they were banging against each other, but yeah.
Yeah, Hayden, anything for Razin?
I think it was a great race from you. The middle stage of the race, after the first pit stop, you really started to progress through the field. Was that just due to being more aggressive in the race at that stage, or down to tyres, or what was really the difficulty of overtaking in the early stages against those guys that were kind of, you know, in that lower end of the field?
Yeah, in the earlier stage, I think the hards just at the start of the race just wasn't a good tyre. As soon as I boxed after getting damage early on in the race with Bamford, gone onto mediums, just started flying. And yeah, I think I made like 2 overtakes on 1 lap, and you know, in like 5 laps, it was like 5 overtakes or something. So yeah, I was proper going for it. The mediums are a really good race tyre, so I can't really complain. And yeah, I just enjoyed it. Just enjoyed going through the field, cutting through. I was so excited when I got to the point of Nagara, because I was like, we are in potential here for the win. You know, we're so high up, even a podium. And yeah, unfortunately I made a mistake, but good recovery to P6 regardless.
We go to Canada next week. Will we be seeing a different challenge from yourself this time? We're starting from the back. What are we going to see next week?
We'll have to wait and see. Maybe. Let's see. For now, Monaco lost the first, or that was the challenge. Was good enough. Yeah, I'm enjoying the game so far.
Amazing stuff, and well done for some good crucial points for yourself and the Ferrari team. And I'm sure we'll see you again next week.
No worries, guys. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next, I believe we're going to get our race winner, Elray Gurian, to have a quick chat. Elray, first of all, welcome in. Congratulations on joining the elite circle of Monaco race winners here in the Creator Series. Talk us through it from how you saw.
It was great, to be honest. First win in the championship. I was really comfortable during the qualifying, especially in the first, let's say, phase, because I was able to reach Q2 with all tires from Q1, and then I missed the pole position in the last corner. I was more or less a 10th down Nogueira, and well, during the start I was able to pass him in a clean way, let's say. And then I had to manage the first position. I was worried always with the safety car, and I think I was lucky that in the first safety car I was able to maintain the first position, especially with Alex, who was today a great contender for the win, because he managed the tires better than me compared. I don't know if he had like more rear downforce or something like that. I will look at it, because I was struggling a lot with deck. And finally, so from the safety car, I had to overtake Tom, who was with older tires, so it was easy. And then, wow, the last red flag was for me really difficult to handle in terms of pressure, because I had to deliver, and also Alex tried aggressive moves. He tried once in Mirabeau and then in the new chicane. So really pleased with the first victory, and happy also with the recovery from my teammate GB, who has, I think, reached a P5. So really happy for him also. And I think we are first in the championship. And also happy to be here with my ex teammate.
Yes. Hello. Why can you pull out these performances when we were teammates, eh? What happened? What happened?
I don't know. Maybe it's the team.
I was a curse, clearly. I mean, it was an incredible performance from you today. How did you deal with the pressure, though, throughout the whole race? Because you have 78 laps. You're trying to get through this track where one mistake, you've broken off a front tyre that we've seen so many drivers do today. But you've also got the likes of Alex Gillen and other various drivers right on your tail, like basically attached to the back of your car, ready to make a move as soon as you make the slightest error. How is that?
It was difficult, but also I knew that it was even more difficult to overtake in this circuit. Like you said, Alex is a great driver, but I was confident and always like keeping for myself 0.3 of a second. I think he was clever in terms of ERS deployment management, because I realized in the end of the race that I was doing better using no deployment during the sector 2. Like from Portier to the tunnel, you had to use overtake button, but previously I was using the medium deployment, and that was a mistake. And also I was a little bit bored, so thanks to my brother, my engineer, I was able to maintain the concentration, because like you can make a silly mistake and you are out of the race. So yeah, difficult, but finally it's been worth it.
You lead the championship, going of course now into Canada. Could this season be your season, or are we not getting too far ahead of ourselves just yet? Going to take it race by race?
I want to win the championship, to be honest. I was closed, not in season 5, I think, and this time I will take it more, let's say, calmly, because I made mistakes previously a lot during races. Like, for example, if I were driving for P4, I would try to be in the podium. Maybe in this season I will calm down. If I don't have the pace to win, I will accept the result and take the points. So I will have that mentality so that I can fight for the championship, because with my previous, let's say, approach, I had many mistakes and, let's say, unnecessary fights, and I lost many points. So this time I will try to maintain that new mindset, let's say.
Amazing stuff, and it's been a pleasure to watch you race around here. We've said that Monaco was a test of not only physical endurance but mental endurance as well. So it's so glad that you were able to have your brother there to engineer you and keep you occupied when you were leading the race without much to do. But no, it's been a pleasure, and thank you for coming to chat to us at the end here as well.
Thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure too.
Amazing stuff, and best of luck with the rest of the championship. I'm sure a lot more chats in the commentary box incoming.
Thank you very much. Bye.
See you. Amazing stuff. It's always great to chat to El Rey, especially when it's on the top step of the podium. Next in, we have the fantastic Meraki in for a chat.
Oh, fantastic.
Well, I thought I'd give you a little bit of a compliment. How did your race go from your perspective?
It was, honestly, it was good. It was good. I want to know what other names you gave the other two, though. Or is it just me?
I can't remember. I've got short-term
memory. Winning El Rey and spinning Razin, I guess, after today's race.
But yeah, it was just just kind of not an interest. I guess it was a boring race, to be honest. Didn't really overtake anybody. Apart
Boring?
From people.
You were watching a different race to us.
To be fair, I had a great view of like Alex sending it on absolutely everyone, which I thoroughly enjoyed. But yeah, aside from that, it was just keeping out of the wall because I had 2 warnings from like lap 30. So I just had to stop corner cutting and just try and take it to the end. I got lucky having no Guerra behind me. It was 6 seconds, but yeah, so I kind of knew he just wouldn't send it on me. But aside from that, yeah, it was all right.
Hayden, I'll let you take the questions. I think you're a lot better at them than I am.
Let's start off with the beginning of that race, and I believe that.
Sorry, no, I was trying to think what happened.
Was it that dull that you can't remember anything that happened at the beginning of the race? To be fair, you didn't really get caught up in many overtakes, many incidents. I did see a great overtake from Alex that he did send on you, and was that potentially because of the warnings that were looming over your head that if you stuck it around the outside of the Novell that you were probably going to get a penalty?
Exactly. I literally said it straight after. I was like, I value not having a 3-second penalty. So
I mean, especially with the red flag coming out as well. That benefited you getting that penalty. We lost more positions. Were you in a good position from that red flag? Because qualifying was very strong from you, and I believe you were holding a set of soft tyres for the race.
I was. I did have a fresh set, but to be honest, I would rather have had no red flag because it kind of just made it a bit more, I guess, layering behind me at the end because everyone obviously caught up. I had like a 5-second gap before the red flag. But yeah, it was just. Yeah, I had a few leery moments when Alex sent it on El Rey into the was it the end of sector 1. I can't remember what the corner's called.
Towards Mirabeau, yeah, and then of course squeezed Ben into the wall as well. You got caught up with that one too.
Yeah,
Alex was just making your race interesting. Heard that it was boring apparently for you.
Yeah. I had the front row seat to everything. It was amazing.
So going forward, we go to Canada next, and we've got a long season, of course, ahead of ourselves. What are your ambitions for the season? Of course, you're already a champion. Are you looking to become the second-time world champion? Or are you looking to do something like Razin and GB are doing at the moment where you're going to set yourself a few challenges?
I mean, I had my meme season where I started last in every single race. So I think I'll just drive and see what I can do, to be honest. It's just, yeah, I'll see what happens. Canada's not a strong track of mine. I've always hated Canada, like monumentally. But it's... we'll see. Once we get Canada out of the way, we'll see where we are. We've got a podium in Monaco, which I didn't think would happen. So onwards and upwards.
Season. Great start to the season and great potential for the championship to come, of course.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Amazing stuff, and congratulations on some good points. And hopefully we'll see you again in the commentary box very soon. Thanks for coming to chat to us.
Thanks, mate. Cheers. Bye.
Well, from Meraki to Infratic, welcome in. Oh, I think it's Ian. Yes, welcome in.
Good night, good evening.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Yes. How did that race go for yourself? Of course, a couple of incidents that you've been caught up in. Maybe some questionable moments as well. But just talk us through it.
Overall, it was a good race. Like, it was everything that an opener needs to have. The drama was there. It was a good race. The track was there, but I went blind into the race with a setup that I didn't try before, and it didn't turn out well. I had to run 80 diff because I lost my rears in pretty much out of every single corner. But the pace was there. I decided to start on the hards because, I'm last. There's nothing that's going to happen. I was trying to avoid crashes and whatnot, and then I found myself stuck behind Damien for a long time. For a long time. I started to get... let's say I was losing my cool and my patience, but I didn't try to do any bad send because I didn't want to ruin nobody's race. But once I saw an opening, a gap, you guys know what Senna says, I went for it. And in my humble opinion, it was a good send. We still touched a little bit, but it was a good send. But then I guess he tried to do the same, and yeah, that didn't turn out well. I got floor damage from that. The safety car came out of it. And then from there, it was a calm race. It was a calm race until my lovely teammate. Yeah, I'm very mad at him still. Because I know he has the pace to get pole, to start up there, but he decided not to. Because he thinks he has something to prove, but he didn't. So I held him for the longest. I held him for the longest. Eventually, he got past me. But before that, even we had an incident where I crashed into him. Him and GB had something. I don't know what happened actually, but I went straight into him. I barely touched him. Got a 10 seconds, and I had to reset on track. Yeah, and I'm aware of the Creator Series rules.
Yep, yeah,
I am aware of it.
Or are you going to the steward's room after this interview?
But it was one of those situations where if I don't reset the track, there's cars coming into us, and it's a crash waiting to happen. If I don't do the reset, Racing is not able to get out of it.
I have watched back the footage, and you were in the runoff area, so you cannot use that excuse.
No,
you were not in the way at all.
I can give you an example. For example, if I don't reset the track, what happened to Dale would have happened to Skyzy and whoever was also behind. It was going to be a pile up. I know it, and you know it.
In the steward's room.
We're going to the steward's office. We're sleeping there.
The steward's room after this, I'm sure. But there was still a lot of positives to come out of this race from you because the pace was good.
The pace was good.
I was really
decent.
impressed. In sort of the mid-stage of the race, yes, okay, you got stuck behind the wall of Damien for so long, and I feel like you both kind of got away with that collision because
I mean, I had floor damage the whole race.
From it. GB had already got past you, but then you did get the floor damage, which we were unaware of. So that's obviously going to be a bit of a struggle. But still, just if it weren't for that reset to track penalty, I think it would have still been some good points scored, of course. And I think there's got to be a lot of positives for you, of course, going for the rest of the season, surely.
I think so. I hope so. And I hope that the steward is going to be very lenient this time around to me, because I've been done dirty a lot of times before. So maybe today's going to be Christmas.
I've just got a message from the steward. They've said, don't break the rules and you won't get a penalty.
Oh no. Oh no. I don't deserve this. I did everything right.
Going forward next week, other than not resetting to track, what are you going to look to do differently to maybe try and get yourself? Because I think you like to think that you've got potential for top 5 finishes, and I think they are there. We've seen it in Singapore for sure. What are you going to do differently in that race to put yourself up there?
Simple. I'm not choosing a setup that I haven't driven with and go into the race with it. I'm not doing that again, ever again. That's it.
A very sensible idea.
There we go. Job done. We'll see you in the top 5 in Canada then.
Yeah.
100%. I'll be there.
Amazing
Trust.
stuff. Well, thank you for coming and having a chat, Fabio. It's always a pleasure to hear your insights on the race. I'm sure we wish you luck at Canada next week.
Thank you.
Well, I think that is the end of all of our interviews. I don't see anyone else sat waiting in the interview room for us. So, for the time being, Hayden, thank you so much for joining me in the commentary box. It's been a pleasure to have you alongside me this evening.
It's been a pleasure being alongside. It's been a fantastic race. We've both been thoroughly entertained with that race in Monaco, and with the gaps that we see between different drivers, it is going to be an incredible season of Creator Series. Elray Guri leads the way at the moment, but there are so many names that are hot on his heels looking for that Season 7 championship.
Exactly. Tim and Marduk looking to go back-to-back. Some other drivers looking to get their first or even second to drivers' titles. And, of course, some tight and technical tracks incoming for the rest of the calendar. But for now, where can they find you on social media if they wish to do so?
All would be at Hayden Gullis on pretty much all socials. So if you want to come watch me stream or come and just follow my socials, then feel free to do that all at Hayden Gullis. But yeah, it's been a pleasure to be on board in the comms box. I look forward to working with you more once again. And yeah, shout out, of course, to Dirk Chocolate doing the behind the scenes and the producer role. So absolute pleasure. And I look forward to seeing you all again in Canada next week.
Indeed. Of course, don't forget to follow all of the Creator Series channels just above our heads. And myself, I'm at the Mousmeister on every single social media as well. But for now, from us here in the commentary box, it is good night. And we'll see you very soon.
Bye-bye.